Freedom is the right of all sentient beings.
It's 3 a.m. and the sirens are going off. Another rocket attack. I've got my boots and got my ammo in my 50-pound sack. A 100 boys headed to war in this world unknown. The only peace of mind I've got are these letters from home. Another day has come and gone. Another night I'm all alone. I didn't think I'd be this far out here. Out here in Kandahar. Well, most of us, we made it home, but we never came back. When we close our eyes at night, we hear a rocket attack. I've tried to talk and tell you about it, but it ain't the same. All these thoughts that run through my head, well, they can't be tamed. Another day has come and gone. Another night I'm all alone. I didn't think I'd be this far out here. Out here in Kandahar. Another day has come and gone. Another night I'm all alone. I didn't think I'd be this far out here. We ain't far from Kandahar.
See, somebody.
WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation Radio.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Do you ever have one of those moments where you think, how the hell did I get here? Jeez, what happened to me? I was ruling the galaxy, had a cherry new battle station. I mean, this place had an omelet bar, a straight-up omelet bar. And now look, my former intern's tossing me down a bottomless freaking pit. You know, come to think of it, my whole life has been a series of what the moments. That was my out.
The voice of U.S. Army. WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
This is a public service announcement from C.T. Fletcher. I will not contribute to the pussification of a nation. Get your punk ass out there and work for it, motherfucker.
Let's roll.
I looked my woman in the eye sockets. I told her straight out. I just said it, man. I said it. I said, bitch, I'm the man of the house.
You said bitch, though. You called your wife a bitch.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Here we go. Broadcasting live. Break 'em off some. From the Functional Veteran Center of Excellence. Woo! Man, this 10 August 2020. I only had a little sip to drink tonight. Oh, man. This is the Monday edition. Thank you guys and gals for joining us tonight. We have an awesome show tonight. I think it's going to be an awesome show. The third option is in effect. Joining me tonight, Flash had to go do some Jose stuff. Had to go do some Flash stuff. And so, joining me tonight will be Mom. Hey, what's going on, Mom? How you been?
Doing great.
Oh man, hey, so what's up with little COVID Carl? How's he been, man? You been doing all right?
He's been awesome. He's getting big. Like he's like chunky now.
Oh man, is he? How is he? What's his weight stats looking like right now? Is he doing all right? Is he?
Pretty sure he's around 15 pounds now.
Oh wow. God.
Yeah.
Holy crap! He was just born. What are you feeding him? Roids or some shit? What the hell?
Sure.
Just making him drink some freaking bacon grease or something like that? You know? Wow. That's insane. Anyways, well, that's good. That's good. I know you. I know you. We've been watching the baby pictures of little COVID Carl. Okay, guys, gals, this is a joke, inside joke we have. I don't want anybody to get the ass and say, look, you guys is making fun of COVID. No, we're not making fun of COVID. We're just making fun of the fact that during all this pandemic shit,
I decided to pop a baby.
You decided to have a kid, yeah, and the little guys, we just started calling him. We just started calling him Connor. We started calling him Connor. Oh, Connor McLeod of the clan COVID McLeod. What? No. How did we end up with this nickname, anyways? Yeah, it was because of that, right? We were. Yeah,
it was COVID. Yeah.
We were just bullshitting and talking about some stuff like that. And then next, you know, he's yeah, exactly. Cost feeding him MREs. 25,000 calorie freaking pouches of Go-Gurt and freaking, you know, Gerber's chow. But anyways, yeah, I'm excited. Hey, real quick, we got some breaking news right now. The president was given a presser, and he was escorted from the briefing after the shooting near the White House. It's almost like there's like political stuff going on. Right, just happened on this show. I mean, wow. Just literally as I was doing shut up, everyone was like, guys, did you look at this? Oh, check this out. Oh, well, we have this. We have to. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. Wow. Well, this is pretty crazy. So a lot of politics and stuff going on. Tonight, our guest, Spike Cohen. Oh my God, I'm excited. The vice presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party, running mate for Jo Jorgensen. I'm excited. I can't wait to get in there and get the questions out and ask, you know, the questions, because my biggest thing is that here is a woman who is running for office and no one is saying anything about it.
Everyone
Everyone's kind of like,
no, it's not Hillary.
Whoever. I mean, everyone has their comments and stuff like that about, you know, the Libertarian Party and all that. I've yet to hear anything other than the most. I'm saying right now, the media, and I'm not taking, the Libertarian Party side. What I'm saying, though, is that all I see when it comes to both the GOP and the Democrats is they're just going back and forth about who said one thing that was bad. Another person said this was egregious and can't say this. Another person said this. Both parties are going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. No one's coming to any stats. Like, I don't hear any stats of anything. I don't hear any policy stuff. I don't hear any foreign policy driven items. I don't hear anything that's going to make me like, okay, what's going to make me vote for you, Trump? I've not heard anything. What's going to make me vote for you, Democrats? Not a damn thing right now. I can tell you right now. There's nothing.
We haven't even had a primary yet. A primary debate.
Right, we haven't had any debates.
Big debates.
Big debates. I want the debates. I want to see the debates. I want to see the mental gymnastics and the sparring and all this other stuff. Little quick jabs and stuff like that's funny for the first. Ha ha ha! Yeah, we got you elected. That's fine, but I want to see I want to hear and see what they both have to say. In a debate that's we can have a debate here. We've even offered the WTF Nation radio time to come on and shoot the shit. Shoot the shit about anything you want to talk about. We're more than happy to have anybody. We've had Vermin Supreme on. We've had Alan Howe on. We've had both. Vermin Supreme is Libertarian Party as well. And then we had Alan Howe, who was on the Democratic side, Air Force veteran, and was is obviously anti-Trump, and discussed. And I wouldn't say he's anti-Trump. He just has a different side and what he felt that when he came on. I feel we could have had beers with all the individuals that we've come on the show right now that have come on to talk to us about politics, and I want to know. But right now, you have Senator Mitch McConnell, you have Schumer, you have Pelosi, you have all those other individuals in the parties right there. Jim Jordan, all of them. All they're doing is going back and forth arguing, and just like reaching across party lines. They don't do that. None of them do that.
I honestly think this has to be one of the worst elections
you've
ever
You know what? You ain't lying. I don't want to be downtrodden to all that and to everybody. I actually would say that.
I know, but it's 2020. What the hell?
Right. Well, it's 20. You ain't lying, man. And I'll be honest with you. I'm not seeing a lot of I'm not seeing, and this is not. I'm not attacking anybody's mental faculties. God knows, everybody knows I already have mental faculties that are pretty messed up myself. But there's already video historical evidence of just the I don't want to say it, man, but I gotta say I don't think the former vice president's all there, man. I don't think he's not hooking and jiving and getting the right I don't know. It's almost sad. It seems like the other party, the Democratic Party, is using this as a prop. Like, I don't know, like we're waiting for the next shoe to drop or something. Then it doesn't.
Well, my take is with the Democratic Party, like, yeah, Joe Biden, he's a front runner, but his running mate is who they're planting in place to be, be the president.
Dude, but we don't even know. We don't even know who it is. We don't even know who it is. I was like, well, we have a pick with Kamala Harris. We have a pick with, I'm look. Anybody who is who's going to run with Biden, I just want to know. Then I can form my own opinions on what, because again, a lot of the stuff that's happening that D. Treasy is doing that nobody can dispute, he's doing it. Nobody can dispute it. I don't know, some of the questions that I can't wait to ask Spike. He's going to come on here, and I want to hear his side. I mean, this is the Jo Jorgensen, Spike Cohen. They come on here. And they're representing that ticket. I want to know why they're not letting them speak. I want to know how come they're not letting Jo Jorgensen speak. I want to know how come there's not been any big pressers, or the media has not gone out to grab these specific candidates to listen in on them. I mean, it's a heated time in our country. It's heated. I mean, there's almost the racial tension going on, and there's some strife going on in cities that. Everyone has their own whatever, but everyone's trying to foment other. It's almost like they're a bunch of instigating shit starters that just want this shit to keep going, so they can get somebody on a gotcha game. I mean, I don't know if that makes any sense, but don't get me wrong.
It makes perfect sense.
Well, I love me a good dumpster fire. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's part of my old career field. create dumpster fires, or we did dumpster fires, or we.
Aren't you like at some point like this dumpster fire is starting to get pretty big? We need to put it out.
Yeah, it gets funny. It's almost like a funny joke that now become a dad joke. That's now become a okay, got it. It's a okay. We're serious now. We have veterans right now who are still. What's up with the opioid epidemic? What's up with the medicinal marijuana? What's up? Some of the stuff that we're talking, I'm looking at this right now as for me, being that now I'm retired, I'm looking at this the veteran angle. I'm looking at this at the, and also a member of the community. You know, I'm trying to get trying to know what's up, trying to understand how come, what's the issue with the mail-in stuff? What's the issue? You know, there's like, there's almost we always get the end, but nobody wants to hear the details in between to get to that point. You know what I mean? We always hear the big it almost seems like a clickbait thing. We never get the details, but we never get the I want to know what's going on. So starting today, August 10th, 2020, the year of our ice, we're going to have, I don't even know how I want the year of our ice, man, because 2020 has just been a bad freaking year. You notice that we are starting to change some of our graphics and stuff around on the pages and our social media accounts. It's WTF Nation Decides 2020. We have extended our hand out, right, and open seating on any Monday show to anybody that wants to shoot the shit with us. Any candidate, any political pundit, any pollster, anybody that wants to shoot the shit with us about what's going on to get the question out. We've invited the GOP. We've invited the Democrats. Damn, look what happened when we invited the Libertarian Party. You get what you get, I guess, huh? Damn. All right. Thank you all for coming. It's one of those things like you don't be calling. These guys are, they'll call your bluff. Oh, you want us to come on? Bam. Here we go. I'll give you Spike Cohen. Like, we're not talking. This is not a staffer. This is not a campaign guy. This is a vice presidential candidate. He's going to come on here and talk to us. So anybody that can talk to us about anything that has to do with the election, because right now our country seems to be a little bit frazzled. And being the fact that we are the veteran community outlet, there are some individuals that within the veteran community that work for some of these parties and work for some of these candidates. And it doesn't have to be specifically presidential as well. Like anybody from Congress or any staffer. I'm already digging in and looking for some people from the political side of the house, looking at former administration pollsters and all that. So to me, it's one of those curiosity things, because really what I'm looking at right now is that I don't think that having what's up right now is, I don't want to say it's lesser of two evils, but it's not going to be it's not going to be anything that it's going to impress me, especially since we've not seen anybody from the Libertarian Party come out. I literally have not. It wasn't until I'm like, Jo Jorgensen, we're going to meme her to the White House. Remember we talked about joking about that? We're going to meme her to the White House. We're going to throw so many memes to get her. Yeah, I'm working some meme.
That might be the key to get her in.
I'm working a meme campaign right now with some friends from my former life, and I'm just like, I'm throwing the memes. I'm doing some mimetic warfare on that. Planting the seed and all that. But the same thing. It's like she's not gotten any freaking I would say legitimate airtime from anybody without giving her any opportunity to speak. And usually it's like a 4 or 5 minute person screaming at you on CNN or Fox. I don't even know if she's been on Fox. They're going to go off on you and talk about whatever, and then they're not going to allow them to talk, and then they have somebody talk over them because it's going to piss off the people at CNN. Hey, at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, I was told already that I used too much military time for the audience because our audience is expanding. At 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Smike's going to have all the time he wants to talk. We're going to ask him questions. We got questions coming in. If you got a question you want to drop in the chat, or hit us in the inbox at WTFNationRadio.com, or hit us at the Facebook page. Actually, the Facebook page will probably be easier. WTF Nation Radio's Facebook page. Drop some questions in there for us to ask, and we will ask. I already have some questions kind of queued up already myself. But again, this is not going to be a gotcha game to our guests. We don't ever play that crap. We don't want you guys to think that this is just an opportunity to start throwing, whatever, MAGA, or come in and start screaming, Biden. We're going to let Spike talk. We're going to give him the opportunity to speak. Again, I'm excited. I'm pumped. There was so many things that I kind of look at as I would say frustration. I think for right now it's frustration. I don't even know who's gonna vote. I don't even know who's voting. I don't even know who's accepted the nomination for anything. How many primaries are? What was the status of the primaries? It almost seems like it's been kind of quiet. It almost seems like it's not even do I want to say conspiracy? Just kind of like hiding shit? Do I want to lead? Do I want to go down that route? Do I want to go down that right there? Just to start talking about.
Well, 2020 is a whole conspiracy.
Yeah, I'm about to say, dude. I gotta say my highs to everybody. I'm getting a bunch of highs, and I really apologize for neglecting my highs. I have, I was critiqued about, you haven't broadcasted in a while, so you need to get in the high. So, Steve, Heath, Pooks, Wallbreaker, Josiah, what's going on? Oh, I see cause in there. I see everybody in there. Let me see this. Let's go over to the main page. Let's see who we got in there. Hey, Steve, what's up? Hey, what's up? I see y'all. Let's go to the main page. Hey, what's up, Bailey? We already got somebody in there who's already talking smack. Oh, smack. Oh, we'll go smack at the smack. Okay. All right, it's okay. We'll get to you. We'll get to you. That's interesting. Okay. Well, all right. Well. Yeah. Well, yeah. Speak up. Speak up, Mom. I know you're. Can you hear me? No, you're like really low.
I don't know the deal. We just had it fixed.
I think you're I think COVID Carl's taking up your mic space there. Might be messing around with that stuff. You were speaking just fine.
Is that better?
Oh yeah, much better.
Okay, yeah. It is. I'll blame it on baby.
Okay, yeah, because he's I know he's looking at you grabbing cables and stuff, wondering what the hell's going on. Yeah, so I'll just throw that. It's almost like they're not really allowing it. They're kind of like shushing them off. How the hell are we supposed? Everyone talks about how the hell are we talking about? With this is a fair and democratic. This is a constitutional republic and blah 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 blah. Clearly, we see we have another party. I mean, this is without a doubt. I get to the point to where, like I said, go back to the frustration point. I want to know. Because what if, actually, the American people want to know, what if you were just being, I don't know, actually, it's not a what if. It seems like you're being baited to not be able to pick and not able to have the Libertarian Party come on up. Hey, we're not going to have them on here. Nothing to see here. We just got these two guys, and one guy makes fun of the other guy, and the other guy makes fun of the other guy. And one of them can't speak coherently. One of them can't speak coherently. You know what I mean? It's
a translator.
It's like,
or one will just forget what they're going to even be speaking about.
Right. Well, yeah.
Land there.
I mean, I don't want to, it's a respect thing with old people. You know what I mean? It's just like he's now at the old people stage. I don't want to disrespect him, but dude, he can't really. Honestly, you cannot expect to take this candidate seriously. And goes with.
I just don't know what they're thinking.
No, we'll see. I mean, it's just kind of funny. I mean, they're probably gonna get attacked on Twitter for talking about old people or talking about,
or ageism.
Or ageism, yeah. And just people want to kind of. I can't believe you just said that. You sitting there talking about Biden and. No, I just want to know what's going on. My biggest thing is that I want to see more so of the, how do I say this? I want to see more of the I'm a meat and potatoes man. I want to know the details. I'm tired of hearing all this all overarching stuff and grand navel gazing. Sorry, I've been hanging out with officers too damn long these last few weeks. Naval gazing and having some strategic going on, some strategizing and blah blah blah. Now I want to see the details. We're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this for veterans. Okay, what are you gonna do for veterans? I want to see what we're doing for this for veterans. You notice there's not an opioid epidemic anymore. Did kind of like we slipped something or some shit? Is there a?
Honestly, it just kind of like disappeared. There was nothing there that, I don't know. I haven't seen anything that actually fixed it. It's just, we helped the VA, and that's all it seems like they did. Oh, we worked on the VA.
Right, we
Okay,
worked
we're
on the
good
VA.
now.
What did we do for the VA though? I mean, I got friends that worked for the VA, that were part of the VA, that of VA of Excellence stuff, and they sat there and they articulated some stuff to me, former heads, secretary of the VA, and all that. I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, got it. All right, so what in processes? I don't know. We're not seeing too much. We're not seeing too much substance. I'm not seeing any specific plans.
Maybe what are their plans for, being, with Trump reelected or Biden elected, or even with Joe and Spike being elected, like for 2021 and from there on with this whole mess with coronavirus. I mean, our economy is starting to, take a hit. What's, from there on, like, what are we going to do? What's the plan?
Ooh,
I don't
yeah.
think anyone knows right now.
Don't get me started on that.
Planet.
Yeah, Koss is right. The Rona's going to disappear on November 3rd. All of a sudden, oh!
Just kind of like the opiate crisis.
Yeah, just saying. What was funny was that I was asking the VA when I was going through, when I told you guys my COVID story, and they were like, "No, nothing to see here." Yeah, I just want to know if I had it. No, you're good. Well, do I come in and get a test? No, you're all right. Well, I don't know. It's been, a couple weeks. Are you dead? How about you? Are you and your kids? Are you and your kids dead? It's kind of like, nah, you're all right.
Well,
okay.
Christopher brought up a point, like TikTok is the big thing right now. Okay, like why are we focused on that? Oh, China's spying on us. I'm like, the only thing China has probably learned spying on us with, Americans is that the United States of America is like the Florida of the world.
No. I mean, here's what I think. The social media has really played a negative image on how some people act. I will say that TikTok and WeChat and all of them, everybody's already known that. It was almost like, it's bad for you to have that. Right, I got it. It's bad for you to have WeChat. It's bad for you to have Snapchat. It's bad for you to have Zoom, right? Yep, got it. And the same individuals that are screaming that are the same ones that are sending on their phones made in China.
Right?
They're sending off you've got an Apple? What do you think it's freaking made from? Somebody not wearing masks.
The same individuals that are screaming it, and the administration and other parts of our government are the ones that allowed the Patriot Act to happen. So,
well, see, that's another thing too. I want to think about some of the questions I'm going to ask Mike about the same thing. It's now to the point to where why now all of a sudden we're worried about China when China wasn't a big deal a few years ago? Well, when China wasn't a big deal up until just recently. When China wasn't a big deal, I want to say if you want to talk about China and what they've been doing and worried about them spying stuff, they've been stealing our shit forever. You ever seen them trying to make an aircraft carrier or try to build an airplane that's going to last as long as hours and all that? No, you can't do it. You can't beat it. I have a feeling everyone's like, well, near peer adversaries, equal to that of, the quotient of the aircraft being the same. And I'm just kind of looking at like, you know what? That aircraft, as soon as our F-22s jump in the air and start going at and flying at them, or our helicopters start going at, those things, the Chinese aircraft would fall out of the sky. They wouldn't be able to handle it. They're not trained as good as us. They don't have the, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that we don't know how to do some hometown engineering and bubble gum and freaking duct tape some of our aircraft together. But I'll be honest with you, it's exactly that, Ashley. Bingo. The Chinese government isn't allowed to spy on American citizens. Only the U.S. government is allowed to do that. That's right. Very good point. I kind of see the fact that the point of it now is to literally, if you just have, really, if you were really worried about China, then all of our information that if you had a top secret clearance, there was that big Office of Personnel Management stuff. Everyone's clearances, everyone's databases and stuff like that were hacked by the Chinese and stuff or was taken by the Chinese way back in the day. So the Chinese already has my stuff. The Chinese already has your stuff already. They track everything. Spying for fucking exactly that, Bailey. Spying for fucking years, and have always been looking for the weaknesses. No, not one person. Now, I also want to see is that I want to see it. Yeah, I want to see it. I will say this: that TikTok is used. That they're using TikToks, and that's correct. Recruiter Times. I'm glad you brought that up on a cyber side of the house. TikTok is being used for their AI, their algorithmic programs and stuff like that. Once it infiltrates your systems and once it infiltrates your phone, and you have it, bam. So what does TikTok do? TikTok says, we're going to go ahead and pay you.
Right.
What? You like grinding up against people that, you know, you like doing some little stupid dances and shit, and this is what we're not going to do. Bam, guess what?
It is pretty entertaining sometimes.
I will say this. I will say this. What was it? A couple days ago, I was on the road this weekend, so I was laughing at some people's TikToks, and I'm thinking, oh my god. There were some fun ones.
Go down a rabbit hole.
Oh my god! It's going like like the YouTube rabbit hole or something like that. It's the same thing with the TikTok rabbit hole. You start going down there like, oh wow, hey, I know that dude, bro. What are you doing with that freaking, you know what? How do you, bro? I didn't know you could dance. It's almost kind of like I'm just kind of like looking like, oh wow, how did you even know how to do that, bro? Bro, man, oh my god. Or their kids are like, Dad, you're on TikTok. And so hanging out with some family they TikTok as a family, and it's freaking hilarious. It's almost like they're TikToking themselves, whatever, and they're like, they don't care. They're like,
yeah, well, my kids and the man, he won't get in my TikToks, but COVID Carl, he has no choice. He's getting in on my TikTok.
He's going on my TikTok. Yeah, some of the yeah, exactly. So there's some TikToks out there of parents smashing their kids' phones because of said TikToks. Again, I don't care. you gotta Chinese know about your Amazon weakness. Yeah, well there you go. There you have it right there. Ashley's got an Amazon for you. Just want to go ahead and call China up. Let them know that you have a weakness. We'll see what happens there. China right now. Everyone's got, you know how they always make fun of everyone has an FBI agent over listening to your stuff. There's this one meme where there's a Chinese soldier crying because he saw somebody breaking up somebody over TikTok. You see that one? My Chinese agent. Oh my god, it's hilarious. You guys,
no, I have not seen that.
You've not seen that? You guys, look for. I know Kaz is my assistant memedom. There's a. I think it was a TikTok. I think we put it on the meme page. It was a Chinese soldier crying because he was thinking about the TikTok of two people breaking up. This is what my Chinese agent looks like. This is what my Chinese soldier looks like. So everyone's got, just like everyone has an FBI agent that's spying on us right now. But sometimes, like one time when we were talking crap about some people, and all of a sudden all the webs went dead. And we know it's you FBI, because we get Paul from Nepal, we get Taipei, Taiwan, Hong Kong. We get listeners out there, and they're like laughing at us. We just imagine they're probably like dying when we're talking shit.
Kind of makes you wonder if China is like a reality show of just us, of Americans.
You think so? I honestly. I can see that. I could see that. I could see the Chinese, okay. Linguistically, I used to speak, a little bit of Mandarin, so I kind of make fun of it. Is it going to get busted? Am I getting in trouble? Is Spike even want to like come on if I start making fun of, Chinese dialect and accents and stuff like that? You guys know where I'm going. Was like goddamn Mongolians, like on South Park. And just did the same thing. Damn Mongolians trying to tear down my shitty wall. Oh, look. I'm imitating Mr. Liu Ken from South Park, so that's who I'm imitating. I don't want nobody to go off on me and go, oh, guys, be racist. He's be like, oh, look, hey, there's Ice. He's talking shit. Oh, look at him. Oh, he don't have a TikTok. Oh, my God. Oh, you ain't lying. That's right. China doesn't allow that stuff. China does not allow the Facebook's Messenger and does not allow that stuff. Even though, did you know that? I should have snapped a screenshot again. Remember when we got dinged up on the Chinese roster? Mm-hmm. Okay, a while back, we had listeners. I told you guys about, was it last fall or something? We had Paul from Nepal. And we had our listeners out there. I'm not going to drop names of where they're at specifically, but who they are and stuff like that. But I know that they are in that area. They are in Nepal and Hong Kong and all in Taipei. And they were commenting in the chats. You guys can still don't. I wouldn't comment right now if we're talking about China. I don't want you guys to get busted. Well, then that night I got a couple of PMs that I had to freaking like China. I had to like Chinese Google Translate to make sure it was like totally legit. And it was just basically, hey, love the show. You guys are funny. Blah blah. And I posted it in the ops of WTF Nation Radio's chat. Well, then the next thing you know, I started getting these weird freaking spams, these weird like emails and stuff, those weird things. I'm like, what the hell is this? And it was a Chinese Business link. WTF Nation Radio. Oh, hey, how you doing? You're on the business link to China.
So is that how we ended up with those seeds?
Ooh. Oh, you know what? What if that's a big, that could be like a freaking conspiracy right there. WTF Nation Radio could be the reason why we're getting those COVID seeds. Oh, we're getting... Oh, my God.
They're sending masks now.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
A single, like, surgical mask. They will mail it to people.
Right. Yeah.
Randomly.
Oh, you want mask? I see you have problems searching for a mask there, Ice. You want a mask? No, I don't think. Are you hungry? I noticed you're going to buy a lot of food offline. I'm so going to get in trouble when I don't know. It's just funny to me that the whole worry about the TikToks, it was almost like you need to tell us. And we have OPSEC Monkey. Yeah, you need to tell us in the beginning. OPSEC Monkey has told everybody, which is one. Remember that unit? And we posted on the main page. That one unit that had an app that was making everybody download it, and it was doing TikTok-like things. I don't know. Maybe if they would have had a TikTok application to it, maybe they would have been all right. Maybe, but everyone's trying to come. I want to open up Shitty Walk. Yeah, exactly that. Pooks the seeds. What's up with the seeds? Please tell me somebody didn't plant them already, right? Did anybody plant them yet?
Actually, somebody has. I need to find an article on that, but somebody has, some idiot.
Of course. Let me guess. From Florida, right? Are they from Florida? Or no?
Let's see here. I'm going to mute and I'm going to find the article for you.
Actually, Ryan, I had some coffee, but I had it earlier, and it was with cola and cream, and now I'm drinking what's called a Flaming Dr. Pepper. So I am having a drink. So when I get like that, and I'm in a good mood, and I'm kind of amped up, yes, I do have that tendency to sound hyper. I'm a fun drunk, I guess. I don't know. I don't sit there and mope in the corner and go, I don't do that stuff. I like to have a good time. We're supposed to have a good time, right? I'm not supposed to be here moping and shit. Making fun of everybody. Seeds are magic. You turn into a giant beanstalk and then you climb it up and asphyxiate and die. Yeah, I want to find out who did it. I want to find out who planted them. And I want to know I want the status of the plant.
So here is your update. It's close to Florida. It was an Arkansas man, so distant relative.
What the hell is this?
They grew into something that produced a large white fruit from orange flowers that resembled those of a squash. Is what it came down to, what happened. However, the Department of Agriculture is concerned that they are of an invasive species, which makes sense.
Well, no shit. They came from China. Of course, they're naturally invasive. They're going to be invasive of excellence.
So that's pretty much it. It's just, I guess it's some sort of squash. Or maybe, the other seeds could be something else, but the ones he got, they got a squash.
Yeah, I just kind of... Is it squash, though? I know there's like different types of seeds that are coming through the net, You start getting like cameras and stuff of them, then I'd be worried. All of a sudden you start getting a box, and it's like all in Chinese, and it's addressed to you. And that's another thing, too. Did they get those addresses from the OPM hack back in the day? You know what I mean? Ooh, it's more conspiracy stuff. And kind of go back in the logs and find out. Because, what if you put down something that's a friend's relative? When you put down for a clearance, you got to put all your friends and relatives and people you worked with and all this other stuff. Maybe that's what it is. I wonder what this person was. Who is this individual that got that's a really good question. If anybody who's been getting the seeds related to someone somehow connected to anybody in the military. In other words, have they been interviewed by anybody for a clearance? Does that make sense? You would think.
Oh, it makes sense. I'm digging for something else.
Oh, okay. No, it was one of those questions, but I'll be next thing you know, I'll be like, oh, here you go, Eyes. I heard you talking shit about some seeds, and I get freaking what's the damn plant's name from Little Shop of Horses? Audrey. Yeah. Hey, Eyes. Oh my God. Okay, somebody sent me. Oh shit. Well, thank you, meme lord. I got one of the admins from U.S. Army WTF Moments meme page is listening in on us, and sent me the meme, a requested meme that I had asked for. Oh, this is funny. I'm gonna. Oh, I definitely. Yeah, this is it. This is so funny. All right, I'm gonna post it up. This is It's about the Chinese. It's about the Chinese soldier looking at your TikTok. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm in a good mood, guys. So yeah, if I'm giggling or laughing, I'm in a good mood. I don't know. Last couple of days for me have been kind of eventful and just kind of like, oh, it's been a good day, or it's been the last good few days, and of course, being back at the station too, broadcasting.
So I did find something that kind of explains what's going on with the mystery seeds and mask. This kind of comes from out of WCPO Channel 9 News out here in Cincinnati.
Okay, I got it up. I got it up right now. Girl crying her eyes out on TikTok over a breakup, and the Chinese guy's beside her on her account. He's right there crying. That's awesome. They got them off TikTok, Ashley. That's right. Oh yeah, good point, Ashley. They got them off. Oh my God! There we go. That's freaking hilarious. I love that meme. It's a Chinese soldier crying. He's like, "There's a soldier crying." Oh, that's really fucked up. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Mom. Go ahead. What's up?
It's okay. Apparently our government thinks it's a part of a marketing scam. The FTC and the Better Business Bureau are calling it a brushing scam. Basically, Chinese sellers somehow get a hold of names and addresses, and they are, through legitimate sellers like Amazon. So basically, I guess your Amazon accounts are getting hacked. They mail out these, random, items to you, and they want a review. Basically, they just want you to review their product to get fake reviews. That's what it has explained going on here. I know it makes no sense. However, if you get some strange package showing up in the mail, change your Amazon password or any other website that you purchased.
But is it? I wanna.
But is that really what's going on?
Right, that's what I'm saying. Is it? Because I've like the way people. I'm gonna pick on my cyber friends. They're gonna look me all funny. They're gonna be like, eh. But do you think sometimes we overdo it? Like how we overclassify stuff in the military? Everything's got to be classified. It's classified. You got to classify it. It's classified. You can have that. No, but it's only a schedule to the DFAC. No, it's classified. No. I mean, it's like really, it's just a DFAC. We've had guys and gals drop an inbox request to take a post down because of something that was considered OPSEC or classified.
Well, they should have thought about it before they post it.
No, but what, a fucking DFAC schedule? I mean, come on, that's my point. They want to overclassify.
Yeah.
So like, do you think some of this is overreacting? Do you think some of the stuff about TikTok and some of the stuff about all that, is it overreacting? I mean, I think if anything else, I'd be using the hell out of TikTok against the Chinese, man. Come on, you guys. I was like, this is my jam. This is my forte. I would be dropping so many freaking anti-Chinese or anti-Chinese government, not Chinese, but anti-Chinese government stuff on TikTok.
Like you'd be using it to troll China.
I would be. Oh, you bet. I would use it to psyop the hell out of them. I'd be TikTok. I'd be using deep fake videos. I would be using TikTok like a weapon. And then find out who this Chinese guy is that's crying over these girls' video. Poor guy. He's probably got to seek some counseling and shit. Because things that are happening in the Chinese culture are totally different from how the American culture is. So they probably think that's holy. Look at this guy right here shooting a kid's freaking phone for having a TikTok. You know what I mean? Then he's probably going, I am not going to go to America. These guys are going to shoot phones. You know what I mean? I don't want to do this. Oh my God! Don't go to this country. Don't go whatever. But yeah, I would use that as a weapon. Weapon the hell out of it. I mean, that's what the whole stuff's all about. I mean, Zuckerberg's all butthurt because TikTok's out like leading them. And don't get me started on Zuckerberg. Don't get me started on Bezos.
Right?
Don't get me started on freaking.
They're jumping on TikTok, but what about all the other social media apps that also kind of do the same algorithm thing as TikTok? Like
Right. Yeah, I'm not buying up on this. I mean, I'm not saying that the Chinese computer systems and stuff like that there isn't a threat, but I'm just saying is it really? I mean, do we want to know what kind of systems do they use and all this stuff? But yes, TikTok does use algorithmic AI, just like to what they do to collect information on you, collect keystrokes, collect locations, collect all that stuff. So unless you have it completely out of your phone or off your phone. It might be too late, but I mean, without digging apart, I want no details. Give me the details. I want to see that shit. Yeah, it's scary. It is. You're right. It's almost Terminator Skynet scary. Pooks. It is the way the TikTok's algorithm. It's like literally Skynet freaking whatever. We're gonna have some future guests talk about algorithms and AI and all this other stuff at the end of the month and next few weeks. I can't wait. The robot revolutions. I can't wait. I get pumped about the AI shit. I know you guys are all sitting there going nerds, but
I'm laughing at this comment. We didn't have this problem with AOL.
Oh my God, I know. Didn't we? No.
If you could get it to dial up.
Right, we came in, Well, hey, we're going to take a break right quick because Spike's going to call us up. He's going to call into the station at exactly top of the hour, and we want to be ready for him. So everyone, recharge your glasses. I know I am. I'm going to recharge my glass, my drink, because I'm pumped to do this show. So everyone, we'll see you in a sec, and woo-woo, I'm excited. Stand by, shouts.
WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation Radio.
Take it from me, Ice. You can't just float around space not caring about stuff forever.
The voice of U.S. Army. WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Shit in the bag, Pogue.
so bad? Is this where you draw the line? 'Cause it's so sad. Tell me where you lost your faith. Is it so bad? Couldn't see it in your face. And it's so sad. I'll wait until you come back down to me. I'll wait until you come back down. While you keep it in your head, is it so bad? Never heard a word you say it, and it's so sad. Tell me when you lost your way, 'cause it's so bad. I will see you when I pray, and it's so sad. I'll wait until you come back down to me. I'll wait until you come back down to me.
I am here determined to stop this future atrocity.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots.
And we're back with part 2 of the Monday edition. And I'm here with our guests. I'm excited. Vice presidential candidate, running mate for Jo Jorgensen, Spike Cohen. How you doing, Spike?
I'm doing great, Ken. How are you doing?
Man, we are so pumped. I mean, you're like the first like real big, candidate, political candidate that we've had on here. We've had others come on. We had Burma Supreme on before. I don't know if you caught that earlier. But
yeah, no, I remember Vermin coming on. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we're kind of we like hanging out with libertarians, because it just, I don't know, it's a common sense type thing. I don't know, we're not you're laid back and not too much drama. You just want to get to the facts and you just want to find out, hey, just what makes America tick. So, real quick, can you give the audience a little bit about yourself, who you are and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. And folks, thanks for tuning in. My name is Spike Cohen. I'm running for the Libertarian. I'm running as the Libertarian vice presidential candidate with my running mate, Dr. Jo Jorgensen. We are running on a platform of setting America free in our time and taking the power out of the hands of the craven, pandering politicians and their favored bureaucrats and cronies and putting it back in your hands where it always belonged. I am a 20-plus year serial entrepreneur, I guess you could call it. I started a web design company in my teens back in 1999. 3 years ago, I retired from that so I could focus full-time on spreading the message of liberty. And to that end, I became the co-owner of Muddy Waters Media, as well as the host of My Fellow Americans and the co-host of the Muddy Waters of Freedom. And I decided to run for vice president because in my interactions with people all across the country, I saw that they demanded real change and they weren't seeing it from anyone, and that they were sick of picking from Republicrat A or Republicrat B, and they wanted to have a real serious and viable option. And so I decided to run, and I was paired with Jo Jorgensen, who is an absolutely brilliant woman and also an entrepreneur as well. And we have the background as small business owners. We learned the leadership and communication skills necessary to take America out of the hands of the Republicrats and put it back in your hands so that we can live freer and safer and happier lives.
Oh, there you go. That's an awesome pitch right there. I mean, obviously this is recorded, so you'll be able to download and get some sound bits all you want from that. So real quick, I mean, you're obviously everyone else is seeing the division, but from your side, where is the division? Where do you see the division at mostly?
Oh, the division's on multiple fronts, and that's by design, right? The Republicans and Democrats realize that the only way that they can get the American people not to take a step back and realize that they're all in on this together, that the Republican and Democrat politicians and the well-heeled, politically connected billionaire cronies who buy and pay for them to be in office are all in it. It's just one big, like George Carlin said, it's a large, it's a big club and you ain't in it. And that, the American people, the only way you can get them from being able to take that step back and realize that they're all in on it is if you keep them at each other's throats all the time and make it worse and worse and worse and divide them among as many different lines as you can. If you can divide them among income lines and among racial lines and ethnic lines and geography lines and political lines and whatever lines you can divide them along, and make sure that the divides are wider and wider and grow worse and worse with each year, then that allows us to be busy fighting each other often over things that either don't matter or no solutions to those problems are being provided by the politicians that we're being told are our only viable choice to vote for. And that is by design. But no, I mean, I'm not even sure I could tell you which divide is the worst. But the true divide, the real one, if we take a step back, is those who have power in this system and those who do not. And that's not, I mean, if you had to consider it a divide, it would be a very small slice off of the cake when it comes to the people who do have power in this system. You have a relative handful of incredibly powerful people, and the politicians that they have put in place as their basically as their pet politicians to pass legislation and regulations to benefit them to the expense of literally everyone else in this country and in this planet for that matter. And that's the real divide, is between us, the American people, and a small relative handful of incredibly powerful people who have created a system designed to keep us down to their benefit.
Now, do you I mean, we were just talking about that earlier in the first half. It just almost seems like they're wanting to keep a dumpster fire going. It's not been any substance at all.
Yep. They have to keep things going. They have to have a hot war on the streets constantly. And the only way they can accomplish that is by keeping us divided, and by and again, it requires, because I mean, some of these things that we're fighting over, they're important things. They're life and death issues to some of us. But it's important for people to take that step back and realize that none of these Republicrats have a viable option or a viable path to fix these problems. In fact, they're the ones who created these problems. They're the ones who made these problems worse. One of the big things that people are fighting over right now is, police accountability. And wherever you stand on it, it is the Republicans and Democrats hand in hand that have created this problem. They have created an increasingly militarized police state. They have put laws and regulations in place that increasingly hold bad government officials and police officers unaccountable, which punishes good policing and encourages bad policing, and creates a situation where the bad apples in the bunch are allowed to run roughshod, leaving the good officers to face the brunt of it, and causing an ever-growing rift between the police and the public. And the answers aren't going to come from Donald Trump, and they certainly aren't going to come from Joe Biden, who is one of the architects of the militarized police state and has been for well over 50 years now. So on any of these subjects, whether it's on healthcare or on education or on police accountability or on public safety or whatever subject you want to pick, we can point out case by case and point by point how the Republicans and Democrats, to the behest of the cronies who have put them in office, have created a series of centrally planned, arbitrarily defined, and crony-friendly policies that harm the entire rest of the country to the benefit of a small handful of people. And it has created this divide, and it is worsening it by design.
Now, you were talking about the militarization of what was the... I mean, everyone talks about. Now, don't get me wrong. We support. I mean, I'm sure you. I mean, you do too. I mean, I've heard you say it before. I mean, you're supporting law enforcement. You're not saying that law enforcement needs to be completely defunded. But what you're saying is that where in the hell did all this military equipment come from? And what was the reason? What all of a sudden you know what I mean? It's just like all of a sudden this equipment started showing up. I've noticed that too. I mean, I've got military friends that we talk about. I'm like, God damn, these cops got better shit than we got. You know what I mean? Well, these cops got better stuff than some of the National Guard individuals. So where did you see the trend coming from? Where did you see it starting?
Yeah, and to be clear, this isn't about bashing law enforcement.
Of course.
At large.
Of course.
With the fact that the current system, which has been created by the Republicans and Democrats, actually encourages bad policing. And in the same way that for a long time we were taught this cynical lie that you cannot support the troops without supporting all of the wars that the central bankers and the military contractors kept putting them into, we're being told a similar lie that you can't support the police unless you also support all of the bad policies that are making those minority of bad cops among them unaccountable and creating a massive rift between the police and the public that they serve. So it is a cynical lie. The best way that you support the police is by taking away the bad police, by holding them accountable, by doing things like ending qualified immunity. And I mean, we could go into a whole conversation.
You go for it. You got all the time you want.
Right, but I want to address your question first. You said, where did this start? So it started with the 1033 military surplus program. And it was actually kind of starting even before that, but it was more on an unofficial level where the military was basically the Pentagon was basically giving military surplus equipment in order to enforce the war on drugs and the so-called war on terror. And that's, the joke is, how did Mayberry RFD turn into this, paramilitary force on our streets, and that's how it's real simple. The federal government just started unloading surplus military equipment to the police, and more importantly, they're not just giving them the equipment. It's like, I mean, you were in the military. They didn't just hand you the weapon systems and say go to town.
Right.
They gave you training. They had people show up, contractors show up and tell you how to use it, or fellow military who already were trained in how to use it and show you how to use it. Well, they're doing the same thing here. They're giving them this equipment and military training. So you have police officers who, after being given military training to use military equipment that was designed for military applications, then they're told, okay, now go use this stuff out in our streets, in our communities, in our neighborhoods. And there is no one that can be fully immune from the fact that when you're training that you're getting on a regular basis is increasingly militarized, so too does your mindset become increasingly militarized. And it changes the way that you're interacting with people. It changes the way they interact with you because they're catching the vibe of what you're throwing off. And it's one of many things that compounds the problem. So it's not just that, your small town police police department has an MRAP or that, your suburban police department has armed drones or whatever. That's not the only problem. It's also that they're getting this equipment that is something that you got when you were in the military.
Right.
That means for you to get it because then you're going overseas and fighting enemy combatants.
Right.
Here they're going into our neighborhoods to give us tickets for speeding.
In an MRAP, yeah, I can see that. That would be a. I mean, of course, there's this hyperbole, but I think people. I mean, you're right. We're looking at the sanity of why would you have. You're going to use an MRAP to pull somebody over for going 5 over the speed limit or something like that. You know what I mean? And then, like you're saying, somebody who's never been exposed to the military and they see the guys kitted out like that, and you see them, that does present a hostile vibe, like you said, from the community at large. When they see that, they don't know how to react. They don't know what's up. And as a matter of fact, I mean, Lieutenant General Honore said it specifically that why are we outfitting these cops like troops? Why they're wearing all the tactical gear and all that. He brought that question up, and the DHS obviously had pulled off of that as well, saying that they're not going to wear militarized or military tactical uniforms. But there were some comments in the chat, and this is as well. I mean, do you think what did the police departments do? Did they kind of like saying, yeah, our crime's really messed up, so we need an MRAP? And I mean, was it a call out from the law enforcement agencies to get this equipment too?
No, it wasn't. It was what happens, and I mean, again, this in the military. It was available, so they said, okay, we'll take it. And this is what happens in government, right? They show up, they go, all this stuff's available, just fill out this form and you'll get it. It's like, okay, well, I'll fill out this form and get an MRAP, or I'll get, there was one of the more extreme examples. A Los Angeles school district got 23 grenade launchers, and when they were asked why they got, and they ended up just giving them back. But when they were asked, why did you get 23 grenade launchers? They basically said, because they were available and we applied for them and got approved. And this is the essence of why government often sucks at everything it does, because it's not based on any actual need. Something that comes from the market is based on supply and demand, because everyone involved has some kind of built-in motive to meet supply and demand, usually a profit motive. But with government, it's just, well, we have this thing here, who wants it? I'll take it. And it's not based on actual needs. So no, there was not this great outcry for military equipment and training. It was just the military showed up and said, hey, we got to keep high, basically we have some, weapon systems that we aren't going to be using in active duty use anymore. And we've got all these contractors who are going to lose their jobs unless we continue to have them training someone. So we'll just give them to the police departments, and that'll keep them doing their busy work for however many more years until that's over. So I mean, it was also partially kind of a boondoggle jobs program too. But what it results in is I'm less concerned about the equipment itself, although that presents a problem too. It's the training. It is that police are increasingly militant training.
Right. That's what I'm saying, because
these are officers that are then going and doing regular police duties.
Because then you're looking at it. The reason why you would have an MRAP is for what? To prevent to protect the occupants from improvised explosive devices while you're manning a turreted machine gun.
Exactly. That's correct. Exactly.
So you're not rolling down Main Street, to blast somebody with an M2 for jaywalking. But the thing is that there was no another, and this is just another curious question too for the conversation. wasn't there anybody at government? Probably not. I mean, this is probably a stupid question, a rhetorical question that would probably don't get answered. But wasn't there anybody at government going, look, you're a law enforcement agency with not even 800 officers, and your crime statistics aren't that high for such type of gear? Maybe Chicago, maybe Los Angeles, maybe, I'm not talking about MRAPs, I'm not talking about grenade launcher. Maybe a grenade launcher for using for tear gas, for riot control or something like that. Maybe.
In a large city or something.
Correct. But you're seeing small towns in Alabama that like literally look got ourselves an MRAP, and I'm thinking, what the? There's only like, I don't know, 50 cops. There you could drive that MRAP through your town in like 5 minutes and then drive it right back. What's it for?
I've had so many people reach out to me when I talk about this the military, the 1033 program, the military surplus program, and I'll have people basically inboxing me and hitting my DMs on my Twitter and Facebook, and they'll send me pictures like, yeah, this is our, I live in a town, X town that has population of 2,500. We have 7 police officers and a mine resistant vehicle. And and they also all just got brand new like tactical gear.
Right.
And I mean, we make fun of the Boogaloo Boys, but some of these cops look like the Boogaloo Boys. They've got they've got the whole all the new infrared equipment and everything else. And it's like they don't really. And again, it's the equipment, but it's also the fact that they get the training that comes with it, and that makes for an increasingly militarized and militant mindset for just regular beat cops.
Right. That's what I'm saying, because at that point you're supposed to be community policing. You're not supposed to be you're not supposed to be adversarial to the public or to the civilian populace. There's a question already, and it's already in line with what was going to be my next question is what would be the plan? What would be for you and Jo Jorgensen? What would be your guys' plan to fix it, to demilitarize the police?
Well, there's a few things, and again, we could spend an hour just on that. But I will say that, first of all, we need to end the 1033 program. I think at this point, our police are sufficiently armed against whatever threat they thought. And again, it wasn't even that there was an active threat that they thought there was. It was literally just, well, we got this stuff, let's go ahead and do it, and we can do it through Pentagon and DHS, and that'll create some and retain some jobs for a while. End that program. Another thing besides, again, the equipment is that there's a system there's a ridiculous legal doctrine called qualified immunity. When you were serving overseas, and if you did something that violated your orders and violated the rules of conduct, you would be court-martialed and potentially you could even be held civilly liable as well as an individual because of what you did.
Right.
The police. And that's dealing with potentially with enemy combatants and foreign civilians.
Correct.
In the U.S., we have the exact opposite when it comes to the police and other government official like CPS workers and really anyone in government that works for the government. And we have something called qualified immunity. And the basics of qualified immunity are that even if a police officer or government official infringes upon the rights of a civilian of an American. They can't be sued if that specific officer, the one being accused, decides that what they did was reasonable. Now, imagine if you could go to court and say, Your Honor, I know that I've been accused of murder, but I think what I did was perfectly reasonable. And the judge goes, oh, okay, then I'll throw the charges out. That is essentially what qualified immunity is. And it's actually even worse than that. You could actually even be found to not be reasonable in what you did. And as long as no one else did that exact thing in that exact jurisdiction, you still personally wouldn't be held liable. It would just be kept as precedent for future cases. It is an absolutely disgusting doctrine. And here's what it has led to. Derek Chauvin, when he killed George Floyd, he already had 17 other complaints against him, including wrongful death complaints. He may have murdered other people. And the Minneapolis Police Department, when they looked at Derek Chauvin, made the same cost-benefit analysis that they make when police departments and government agencies around the country make when they look at the bad apples in their bunch. They looked at him and said, "This guy's a terrible cop. He's got to go. But if we try to get rid of him, it's going to cost us a fortune going after the police unions, and there's no guarantee we'll be able to get rid of him. And because of qualified immunity, it's not costing us anything. We can't get sued. He can't get sued. So we'll just keep him on, and eventually he'll probably kill someone, and then we can put him in jail and kick him off the force." And this incentivizes bad policing. This punishes good policing because good police know that bad police will not be held accountable. When we end qualified immunity, it flips it all around. Now those same police departments and government agencies will look at their bad apples and say, we got to get rid of these people because we're going to get sued.
Right.
And actively be looking for anyone who could potentially be a threat. And so will the police unions. Everyone involved now has a vested interest in getting rid of bad cops because they don't want to get sued if for no other reason.
Right.
And so
well, especially when they've had the, of course, the media now uprise, a little bit of an uptick on their exposure. You know what I mean?
Exactly. All that combined leads to police being held accountable and getting rooted out, and good policing being encouraged and incentivized, again, because they don't want to get sued. And then that helps heal the rift between the police and the public they serve. We also are going to end the war on drugs. The war on drugs, just like prohibition in the 1920s and 30s, all it did was it put things like addiction and drug use in the black market, which empowered cartels, just like it did in the 20s and 30s. It has empowered corrupt government officials who get bribed by those cartels. It has empowered corrupt cronies who make a fortune with various contracting that they do to enforce the war on drugs. It has led to the U.S. being the biggest prison country on the planet. They more people in jail, both in sheer numbers and in per capita than any other country on earth. And it has caused addictions to go up, abuse to go up, and overdoses to go up because people who have the health problem of having an addiction are being treated like criminals. And so by ending that and by doing exactly what we did with alcohol, where it's now legal and how people can get help if they have an addiction problem instead of facing jail time, and people can help them without facing jail time. And now it's something that's being sold, either in stores or online or whatever else, so that now it's not being controlled by powerful cartels who engage in gangland violence to enforce their turf. Now it's just being sold by mom and pop shops or whoever else wants to sell it. Now we can actually deal with addiction as what it is, a health problem. That also that removes a lot of corruption from police departments who are getting bribed to look the other way when the drug dealers are doing their thing. So that helps make our streets safer, and it also helps deal with the unaccountable police state.
Now on the drugs, are we looking at specific types of drugs? I mean, because I know we're talking about legalization of marijuana federally, like lifting the schedule, right?
Yes. We are looking at legalizing drugs. Again, by the way, I have been sober for 14 years, so I'm certainly not advocating drug use. I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying that most of these drugs are something that no one should touch, and that by making them illegal, all we have done is taken its addicts and the people that are using it, and we put them in the shadow so they can't get the help they need. Now an addict who has to sell drugs to make ends meet to be able to pay for their drugs, they get treated like a criminal, which they're not. They have a health problem. And instead they're put in prison, which costs a fortune to the taxpayer. They go in there. They have to become a much harder person than they were when they went in to be able to survive. They come out. Right. They have a criminal record, so they can't really get a good job. They might not even be able to leave the state. And they can't own a weapon. They can't vote. And they're probably still addicted to whatever drug they had because they were still able to get it while they were in prison. So now they have all the same problems they had before. And now they get a criminal record and all the bad things that comes with that. So it hasn't fixed the problem. The problem is not that there aren't enough laws. The problem is that people aren't getting the help they need, and the way they'd be able to get the help they need is if they're not being treated as criminals. Of course. And people that can actually help them without facing charges for being an accessory to a crime. So no, even though we are certainly not advocating for people to use or get addicted to drugs. We're saying that the war on drugs has made that exponentially worse. And we've seen countries like Portugal who have decriminalized and legalized even the hard drugs, and it has led to massive reductions in addiction and abuse and overdoses and so forth.
Now, do you also think obviously it's the prison side of the house too, but going back to the qualified immunity, this also taps into, I don't want to jump back. I'll get back to the drug question in a minute, but I wanted to get back to the qualified immunity. No-knock warrants are the most cowardly way of conducting law enforcement. What's your take on that?
End them. They're a clear violation of the Fourth Amendment. There is no constitutional justification for saying we are going to essentially break into someone's home and because they're suspected of committing a crime. Keeping in mind, again, we are all innocent until proven guilty. And, we saw the case of Breonna Taylor in Louisville, Kentucky.
Exactly. I was going to get it. Go for it.
Example of what happened, that they came in, they were in a home where the person that they were supposedly looking for was already in police custody. So in addition to no-knock raids being completely immoral and harmful and not helpful to the police either, In that case, there was also just a comedy of errors of how, or I guess a tragedy of errors of things that led up to that going the way it did. But here's the difference. If they had knocked and said, we have a warrant and we'd like to see, go through your home, one of two things would have happened. Either the people here's what would have happened. The people, Brianna and her boyfriend, I'm forgetting his name.
It's Kenneth. I think it was Kenneth Walker, I think was his name.
Something like that, yeah. They would have woken up. They would have gone to the door. They would have let the police in because they had a warrant. The police would have gone around and seen that no one was there, and then they would have left. So, but because it was a no-knock raid, instead of what happened was Brianna's boyfriend went and opened fire on the people who had just broken into their home. And just to prove that he didn't think it was police, they had just called 911 saying someone broke into our home. So, I mean, this is what happens when you have people break into your home. And we've seen other examples where they've broken into people's homes and launched smoke grenades and flashbangs.
Right.
There was one that I forget where it was, and they mauled the poor kid in his crib. Guess what happened? When they went to sue the police department, that lawsuit was denied because of qualified immunity. So it all feeds into the same thing. But no, we would absolutely end no-knock raids as the blatant constitutional violation that they are.
Now, with that, some of the cases of the Second Amendment kind of roll in there on the type of
course, absolutely.
Firearms, because that would always be an excuse. Sometimes it would seem like for a warrant to get. We suspect that the individual has illegal weapons, or we suspect the individual has high capacity magazines. So, what is the Jorgensen Cohen ticket talk about the Second Amendment? Sorry,
this is an easy one. All gun rights are an infringement, shall not be infringed was not a suggestion, nor was it qualified in any way. It is not just from the federal government, any violation of your natural right to keep and bear whatever arm you wish to defend yourself and your loved ones and your neighbors and your communities as you see fit, with no need to get justification or even to make an explanation. Any infringement on that is a blatant violation of the Second Amendment. And in terms of how that would react in policy, Jo Jorgensen will fire everyone in the ATF and not rehire anyone.
There we go. So what would be the status of the ATF then, sir?
The status of the ATF is no one will work for it. So, there is obviously there needs to be a legislative solution long term to just abolish the ATF and end all gun laws at the federal level. But in the meantime, and there's all sorts of precedent for this, the president enjoys the ability for anyone in the executive office to serve at her pleasure. And if they aren't serving at her pleasure, they aren't serving. So that would be the answer to that. And any additional federal law enforcement that is still required would be ordered not to work in enforcing any federal gun laws or to cooperate with any states who are enforcing their state gun laws. We would use the Department of Justice to actively and aggressively sue states and municipalities that have gun laws as the blatant violation of the Second Amendment that they are. And when the American people see the immediate and profound benefit in terms of the reductions in crime rates from the fact that criminals now know that anyone who wants to be armed is armed, even in many of these large cities with large crime rates where it's nearly impossible to legally own a firearm, when that all ends and the crime rates plummet as a result of that, and people are safer and more free as a result of that. And when that happens, that will give us the leverage to go to Congress and say, hey, listen, the American people are on the side of making these things permanent. Are you on the side of removing the boot from the neck of the people, or are you on the side of keeping it there and allowing continued needless suffering for no other reason than to preserve your own wealth and influence?
Right. Now, does that include the does that mean the DEA would be gone too?
Yeah. Well, honestly, for lack of a better word, there wouldn't really be anything for the DEA to do because she has the authority to order the DEA and the FDA to unschedule the drugs. And basically to allow them to be used. This is also one of the, I guess, silver linings of the fact that Congress has been so abdicating their authority to the executive branch for the past several decades in the form of creating one alphabet soup agency after the next, giving them nearly unlimited regulatory authority, is that when Jo Jorgensen comes into office, she can just start undoing all that stuff. Yes, there are some legislative things that will help make it permanent, and there are some legislative things like, for example, term limits and stuff like that we really can't touch at the executive level. That has to come from Congress. But there are many things that can be done. For example, ending the war on drugs, ending the wars and bringing the troops home.
Yeah, the troops home. Hey, that's a question too. What do you feel currently about our foreign policy?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I thought you had a natural pause.
No. What happened there was someone called me while I was on this thing, so I apologize.
Oh no.
Anyway, there's so many things that can be done at the executive level,
Uh-huh.
and a perfect example of that is just descheduling the drugs when it comes to the war on drugs, and also on firing anyone whose only job is to infringe on the Second Amendment at the federal level.
Okay, you were talking about the endless wars and all this.
Yes.
We've been in Afghanistan now for, we call it the Infinity War, just like not making fun of Marvel.
Right.
What is the deal with Afghanistan, and what is your plan for it?
There are people who are retiring from serving in Afghanistan who weren't alive when it started. I remember when we first started saying, there are people that are fighting in Afghanistan who weren't alive when that war started. It's gone even further now. There are people who have done tours and are back home for good, who weren't alive when that started. We found out from the Afghan papers last year what really anyone that's been paying attention to what government does for the past several decades could have already told you, which is that every major thing they have told us about the impetus for what started the war, all of the various goals that have supposedly been met, different threats, different outcomes to different battles. Everything has either been completely made up or fudged as much as possible to make it look favorable to the idea that we need to continue the wars. And again, anyone who knows the history of what got us into Vietnam, and what got us into World War I, and what got us into the Spanish-American War, for that matter. We know that government has a history of lying and making things up in order to justify sending people to war.
Oh, yeah.
That they don't have to engage in.
Or keep us in it continuously for almost 2 decades.
Forever.
Oh my God! It's like it seems like every single time a new general shows up, they're gonna win the war. They're gonna have this new fandangled whatever policy or doctrine that's gonna come up, and they're gonna do it. They're gonna win it for the home team, and then we don't hear anything about it. Then it gets quiet, and then we hear about some car bomb.
Yeah, this year, Afghanistan is going to cease to be the graveyard of empires. It's absurd at this point, and I am sick of seeing. And there's many levels to this. I am sick of seeing millions of Americans pledge an oath to protect and defend the constitutions against all enemies, foreign and domestic, who are then sent overseas to fight and kill and potentially die on behalf of incredibly wealthy petrodollar central bankers and military contractors and foreign dictators and drug cartels too, because that's happening in Afghanistan. They're fighting on behalf of the poppy cultivators there. And then if they do survive, if they aren't brought home dead, then as I'm told often by many veterans, then they're given a second chance to die for their country by being subjected to the worst healthcare system in this country, Veterans Administration.
Oh gosh, yep.
We will be ending the war on drugs and bringing the troops home, or we will be ending the endless wars and bringing the troops home and allow the healing to begin there. And then we will also be the best way to deal with the VA. And I know you haven't asked me yet, but we might as well go into that.
I was going to ask you that. Go ahead.
Okay. Here's the thing with the VA, and a lot of people don't know this. It costs more to run the VA, which pretty much every once in a while I'll have a veteran who tells me that overall they had good outcomes from the VA. Usually they also don't have a lot of health problems. The ones, it seems like the worse the health problems are, the less charitable of an interpretation they have of how they've been treated by the VA. But what people don't realize is it actually costs more to run the VA than it would just cost to give each of y'all enough money to get health insurance on the private market, which as we know have much better outcome. It costs billions more per year than just simply giving you the money you need and still giving you the benefits that you qualified for as well. So this is not about cutting any benefits or anything else. It's actually the opposite. It's about giving you the money directly that you earned and letting you get the care that you need in a market with far better outcomes, and just scrapping the VA for good, which not only helps veterans and gets them the care that they need once and for all, but it also saves the taxpayers, including veterans who are taxpayers, billions of dollars a year in the process.
Now with that, what's your? I mean, obviously there's going to be a threshold, but what is your plan with Jo Jorgensen? The threshold for military intervention over broad. What would be your threshold? Just to give us an example, a hypothetical.
So I would defer to Joe, and I don't want to say something that then is later used as well.
Oh, of course, yeah, I understand. No,
but
don't understand.
Generally speaking, here is what I will say.
Okay.
If there isn't an active threat of aggression against us, then there's no reason to be going to war. The military was not set up. The founding fathers didn't intend for us to have this, permanent standing chessboard force that goes around and treats, basically goes around and acts as world police and defends foreign dictators that are friendly to our foreign policy and so forth.
Right.
Who was it? Washington, who warned about entangling alliances. Well,
yep.
We're well past entangling alliances at this point. We're in entangling, adversarial roles with people that we're still fighting alongside. And I say we. I've never fought a day in my life. And I will tell you something. As a recovering neocon, someone who used to be a chicken hawk for many years, I'm recovered now for about 16 years for that, or 15 years. I can tell you, I am sick of incredibly powerful and cynical people sending you and so many other people who literally signed up to protect us and our Constitution to use you as pawns in this cynical, unending chess game that causes the loss of the lives and livelihoods of so many Americans and so many American families, not to mention the immeasurable harm being done by people in those countries where it's happening. It needs to end. So, I mean, I guess the threshold is, unless there is an active threat or an active attempt at aggression against the U.S., then there's no reason the military should be involved. And so, that's why when Jo says she wants to bring the troops home, and she's going to bring them home and make America into one giant Switzerland, armed and neutral. And armed doesn't just mean the military. Armed means the people. If the people are all as strapped as they want to be, any foreign government's going to really be thinking twice about going up against 330 million of the most heavily armed people.
Right. And who have a large population are veterans now due to the forever wars that we've been in.
Right, exactly.
So do you think
on their home turf?
Right, exactly that. So do you think that, and we're going to the veteran side of the house too. Do you think that it is dangerous that there's a decent lack of veterans in Congress, considering that they make all these decisions for military policy anyways? Do you think that there needs to be more, or what's your take on that?
It's not necessarily to me a question of if there's not enough or too many. I think it's just a natural response to the fact that veterans. I've talked to so many veterans that don't even vote, and we're giving them hope with our message. But I think and again, I did not serve, so I'm spitballing here, and maybe you can correct me where I'm wrong. But I've spoken to a lot of veterans, and what I have seen is, these are people who signed up. They had great ideals for what they were going to be doing. They were going to be fighting for their country. They were going to be protecting us against the bad guys. And then they go over there and they think, wait a second, we're helping the bad guys often. We're helping the warlords and the drug cartels, and we're often fighting on behalf of goals that don't have an end. This is an endless war that we're fighting in, and so they become so jaded that not only don't they want to serve in office, but a lot of them don't even want to vote. And I think that that's intentional. I think that there is a heavy desire among those cynical cronies to demotivate people who are, because they figure, you've got the training to be able to, to engage in military action.
No, I totally understand. So no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so I think that there's this, I think that they make many steps, including denying you decent health care and making sure that you're just sick, if at all possible, to make sure that veterans are just in a position of not really having the wherewithal to be able to be more participatory, because if anything, they fear you. I would fear someone that I used and used as a, basically as a fighting dog, and caused so many of that person's buddies and loved ones to die right in front of them, and subject them to garbage healthcare.
Right. No, I laugh because there shouldn't be a fear, is what I'm saying. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but there shouldn't be a fear due to the fact that we're people too, and I would love to have to see, and especially in this type of environment, a lot of veterans actually sort of think a little bit libertarian anyways. There are a lot of centrists and libertarians in the military community and the veterans afterwards. And it's really, I mean, it's really one of those things to where, do you have any, and this is not an all gotcha game, just a gotcha question. This is just one of those, do you have anybody that's a veteran of the military serving on your staff, or were you planning on it?
So we have a few. My campaign manager, Matt Hicks, is actually a veteran of Iraq.
Oh, rock on.
He's in the cavalry, and I mean, he actually has the names of some of the people that he served with who died over there tattooed on his arms, because he'll never forget them. And this hits very close to home, and it is actually part of the reason why he is believes so strongly in this ticket and what we're doing, is because he knows we are committed to end these endless wars, and to have our military be something that is only there to protect the American people and the Constitution against people who would threaten it, both here and abroad, instead of allowing many of those people who are a threat to the Constitution be the ones ordering them into fighting endlessly overseas, while back here at home they are subjecting the people to ever-growing infringements on their constitutional rights.
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching some of the chats here, and all the chats and everything's going pretty good right now. I'm getting a lot of PMs to ask. With that, one of the questions that I got asked is, what's your concern of China? Do you see it as a rise? Is it to be a danger or not? What's you and Joe's take on that?
Here's my take on China. China has benefited from a very powerful crony class in this country and in other developed nations as well, who figured out a pretty, unfortunately, ingenious but also pretty cynical way to and disingenuous way to shut out their smaller competitors. And here's basically how this scam works. It used to be fairly affordable to hire Americans and to make things in America. It's funny because when you look at like stuff that was made in the 1970s, 1960s, it all says made in Ohio, made in Kentucky, made, where in fact, a lot of stuff made in Ohio. I was actually talking to my wife about the fact that, the way that we joke about everything being made in China, back in the day it was made in Ohio. Everything was made in Ohio. But what happened was the very powerful cronies, the people who basically ran manufacturing, they figured out something. They figured out that it was, with technology, it was becoming increasingly easy for smaller competitors to come up and take part in the fact that the ability to manufacture things was in batches was becoming more and more streamlined, so that they could start making things in a more streamlined way. Instead of needing these massive factories to make stuff, they could actually start making things in much smaller factories and actually be able to compete directly with those big cronies. And so they came up with a really cynical long game. And that game was to convince the American people that the best way to protect the rights of the workers was to put the government in charge of it. And so what the government did was they created a series of regulations and taxes and fees and compliance costs and mandates and all sorts of other barriers and burdens that increasingly made it unaffordable for those smaller businesses, especially those upstart businesses, to even hire American in the first place or to make anything here in the first place. It stopped them from being able to make anything at all. And they just kept ratcheting up the regulations. They're still doing it to this day.
Right.
Ratcheting regulations And these regulations, that's not additional money going into the pockets of the workers. Just the opposite. Sometimes it's actually less money going into the pockets of the actual workers, more money going into the coffers of the various government and agencies involved with enforcing this compliance. And then here's what happened next. Once it reached a point of saturation where no one could afford to make things here or to hire American, those cronies had already been, for the past few years, they had already been developing relationships with foreign dictatorships like China, with the idea that the very second that it got too unaffordable to make things here, they'd just move their entire base of operations over to China, and they'd employ sweatshop slave labor, what we would consider slave labor here.
Right.
And they would use that, and then they would use the U.S. military to protect, externalize the cost of their security, to protect their shipments of goods and services back into the U.S. against pirates and those who would try to take from it. So now the taxpayer that they have robbed of the ability to work is now paying for their security. And so they created this great system for themselves whereby they can just, they're the ones that can spend the hundreds of millions or even tens or hundreds of billions of dollars to move their base of operations over to these far-flung lands, have them made by sweatshop labor, and then brought back over here. That arrangement would have never been as affordable as simply making it back here for a myriad of reasons. If the government wasn't involved, making it more expensive to do business here, so expensive that it was unaffordable, and in using largely the U.S. Navy to protect one of the biggest costs, which is the protection of the shipments back here. And that's led to all sorts of, in addition to the threat of these rising dictatorial governments like in China, it also has led to all sorts of major problems here, all the social problems and economic problems that come with an increasing number of people who can't find good jobs and gainful employment based on their skill set.
Oh man, because I was about to say, how do you? Because right now we have, we still have a pandemic supposedly still going on, right? I mean, it's still happening. It's still, there's some states that have been locked down. That you were just talking about, some of those regulations have killed businesses. I mean, it's killed some of the stuff that I've wanted to do, or killed some of the things that some of my friends wanted to do.
It's just completely killed it off.
It killed it off.
His friends had a restaurant that had to fold because they just couldn't comply with it. They finally had reached a point where they could comply with the only seated inside, or only seated outside, or like takeaway, takeout order.
Right.
They finally had figured out how to make that work, and then at the last minute they hit them with another thing where you had to spend all this money in order to pay for all these inspections to prove that you were staying.
And some of these states, right? And I think I did hear about that. Some of the states were also not allowing renewal of licenses, or actually not accepting new licenses for businesses anyways. So there was individuals that had already had, invested capital to move in, and then they couldn't do it, or they couldn't even open it.
And so this is the most acute thing that we've seen is what they've been doing to all businesses now as a result of this COVID-19. What they've been doing to manufacturing is basically this. What we're seeing now with the entire rest of the economy is kind of a microcosm of what they've been doing to manufacturing for decades now. And they did it slowly, like tightening a vice. And over time, eventually, it just reached a point where only the mega billionaires could play. And they're playing in China. Not because it's cheaper to do stuff over there, all things being equal, but because they've created a system where it's comparatively less expensive to do it over there than how expensive they've made it over here.
Right.
And if we simply undo, so going back to your question, how do we deal with something like China? We look at the root cause instead of the consequence. China is not the consequence. China is China is not the root cause. China is the consequence of bad domestic regulatory.
Oh my God. Oh, thank you. Oh, high five on that one, man. Because that no, I'm serious, because it actually, some of the questions that I wanted to ask was that, how do you balance a public health crisis with a slippery slope of literally infringing on individuals' rights and their liberties, and still trying to say that you're trying to progress the economy when, like you're saying, you have no choice but somebody to have to go outside of China because of these policies that they seem like, we're here to help. We're that old tag, that old quote from the government, we're here to help you. You know what I mean? And it's not. It really is not the case.
And it's even worse than that, Ken.
Yeah.
For the first 6 to 8 weeks that COVID-19 was here, The Centers for Disease Control, the organization that the Republicrats created to protect us against this very type of thing, the Centers for Disease Control did not allow medical professionals to test people for COVID-19 for nearly 2 months. And so if you were in January or February, or even going into March in some places, if you would go into your doctor's office and say, Doc, I'm not feeling too hot. I just got back from China and I'm worried I might have this coronavirus thing I'm hearing about on TV, they'd have to say, not much I can do for you. We're waiting for the CDC to give us their test kits. The CDC took 2 months before they finally realized that they sucked at making test kits. Even though these were test kits that people like Dr. Helen Chu in Seattle and other doctors around the country, they were making these test kits illegally, and they were working because government sucks at everything they do. And when they brought those test results, those illegal test results showing that people already had it here, and they brought it to the CDC's initial response was, what you did was illegal, destroy those test results, tell no one, send those patients home, don't even tell them they have this. So that's for any organization who specifically led by their terrible policies, for no other reason than the fact that they simply didn't allow the people whose job it is to actually contain these types of things, not allowing them to do their job. For them now to turn around and say, well, we have to choke off your livelihood under the threat of, putting you in jail if you don't comply, where you're certain to get COVID-19 if you don't listen to us. So, for them to say that they care about us when the reality is their threat here is, we are going to impose a pandemic upon you by not allowing medical professionals to test and treat you. And then we're going to use that pandemic that we have imposed upon you as a reason to rob you of your ability to thrive. And then we're going to give you $1,200 and give the other $13,000 to our favorite crony billionaires to make sure their bottom line isn't affected. And then we're going to stick you with the bill with interest. And if at any point you don't comply with us, we're going to make sure that you get infected with this disease that's only here because we imposed upon you in the first place. And to think that that organization should be in charge of healthcare or being able to decide whether or not you can go into business, I think they've fully demonstrated that the people that are in charge right now and the systems they've created are designed for the exact opposite.
Well, they're actually removing the thought of enterprise and individual responsibility and self-reliance, because now with the Paycheck Protection Plan, that whole drama, and now we're seeing individuals fighting it back and forth, and we're also seeing some COVID response bills being signed with some of that money going to, I don't know, an F-35 jet fighter.
That's how you slow the spread of COVID, by bombing people.
Right. Well, I mean, my thing is that we had hospital ships, we had the Javits Center set up, we had the military mobilized. We had, the U.S. Army North Command. We had them ready to go. They were mobilized. We had teams, and, this was going to be America in action for its military, to deploy its military out there to support the civilian populace for this civil military act. And it literally, I mean, they fucked it up. I mean, this was hardly anybody used the Javits Center. Not what, 17 patients went to go see one of the hospital ships off the coast.
Yep.
So
they were too busy. They were too busy loading the COVID patients into nursing homes, which is what they did in so many states. One of the reasons that our fatality rate was as high as it was in those first couple of months of the outbreak was because there were a few states that actually said, okay, well, let's just put them in here because there's a likelihood they'll, like, the really bad cases. Well, they put them in nursing homes that didn't have the proper protocol in place to protect the other patients. And by the way, those are the patients that were the most likely to die, almost 100% likely to die. People over the age of, 80, people that had multiple comorbidities and were already fairly close to dying anyway. And so now, they basically just unloaded them in there with no good protocols in place to stop the spread in those places. So, I mean, no, they were far too busy, making sure that the elderly got affected to, utilize Army hospital ships.
Why now with this here, why wasn't, now this would be, I mean, under a Jorgensen Cohen administration, there needs to be some accountability for this stuff. I mean, this they literally, no, they did. They trucked a bunch of individuals into old folks' homes and had them suffer. That's basically the callous way to say it.
What they did, yeah, and it was just sheer incompetence. I don't believe that anyone there was wringing their hands and saying, "We're going to kill Granny today." Like, it was just incompetence. It was what happens.
Right.
And again, I find that when I speak to veterans, I don't have to oversell just how incompetent things happen when it's government in charge of it, right? So I mean, this is anyone who has, especially anyone who's fought overseas, but really anyone who's been in the military for any extensive period of time. I don't have to explain how something ends up happening like a policy like that.
Right.
How government bureaucracy works.
No, you're right. It was just. It's just seeing, going back to all the way the money was being handled and the stimulus check being handled and all that. It just almost seemed like you were talking about the Republicrats and you were talking about everybody else. I kind of like that ring to it, by the way. Can you tell the audience what a Republicrat is?
It's like the aristocrats, except they're screwing you. No, it's the Republicrats are just the Republicans and Democrats, and the reason I say it that way is because they're the same thing. They're just two flavors of the same thing. They use different rhetoric to their respective voting blocks, but in terms of actual policy, there's depressingly little difference. There's someone by the name of Michael Malice, and one of his phrases that he likes to say is, "No matter who you vote for, you get John McCain." And it really is. It's like no matter who you or Mitt Romney or whoever, no matter who you vote for, you get this sort of milquetoast politician that does nothing but just move the needle of government ever more.
Well, or Joe Biden, or Joe Biden. I mean,
or Joe Biden. That wasn't. I wasn't just picking on Republicans there. You end up
we pick on well being a veteran entertainment / media news, we trash on everybody.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like there are many reasons to want Donald Trump out of office. Replacing him with Joe Biden is not one of those reasons. Joe Biden is one of the architects of every bad policy to come out of government for the past 50 plus years when he hasn't been busy sniffing children. These are two men who can barely form a coherent sentence between them, and they're emblematic of every single problem that is coming from D.C. Donald Trump, a lifelong crony billionaire, has used government to harm people around him for his profit, and then he promises he's going to drain the swamp only to become the king of the swamp creatures and continue kicking the can down the road and moving government and spending more than any president before him just in one term, running up more debt than any president before him just in one term. And then Joe Biden, again, someone who, when he's not busy victimizing children on the air in front of everyone to watch, he's been the architect of things like civil asset forfeiture and military surplus program and the war on drugs and the 1994 crime bill, which led to a massive imprisoning of people. Like this is what you get when you vote Republican.
I'm glad you brought that up, because just you saying sniffing kids and stuff like that and all this, hopefully, I mean, we might get our Facebook feed cut. I don't know. We've had that happen before. We've made fun of both candidates, and we've had our feeds cut and all that. But I mean, that's not. I don't care about that. But what is it? Why isn't anybody not seeing any movement with this? I mean, why do we think that the debate? I mean, do you think that the debates? You have a woman who is running for president, and you would think that the individuals who are all about equality and those who speak about equality would be praising this, having Jo Jorgensen running for office, and I'm not saying nothing against you, but it's a woman, another woman running.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what we have seen is those who do hear about us, who we are, and what our message is, overwhelmingly. If this was just an election based on people who had heard of all three candidates, we'd win in a landslide.
Right.
The reason that, and it is for that reason that the Republicans, the Democrats, the state election boards, the FEC, and probably most importantly, the crony corporate media. Keep in mind, Ken, when you're looking at Fox News and MSNBC and all of these so-called local affiliates, they're all owned by like 6 corporations.
We troll them too.
What's that?
We troll them too.
Yeah, no, exactly. And the thing is, these corporations, these multi-billionaires, these trillion-dollar businesses have a vested interest in making sure that the American people think that there are only 2 options and they suck and you just have to live with it. There's literally a website called settleforbiden.com, and I thought it was a joke, but they're serious. They're saying, well, listen, Donald Trump is or Joe Biden is terrible, but Donald Trump's more terrible, and that's literally the level of conviction that they're bringing into this, because they know he sucks. And so many people, there are people who have completely drank the Trump Kool-Aid, but most Trump voters are not the ones showing up at rallies and losing their minds and thinking that he's their savior. Most of them are people who are the other side of that coin, going, yeah, Donald Trump's terrible, but gosh, Joe Biden.
Well,
oh
right.
my Lord, I can't vote for him.
A lot of the Trump voters were. I mean, you have to think about it. His platform was, what do you got to lose? When he first was, his vote, and a lot of people, said the same thing. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, what do we have to lose?
What the hell?
Yeah, give it a shot and see what happens. Right. Yeah, right. And so there is. So you're right. There is a site called settleforbiden.org. We're not gonna. You all can Google it yourself. We're not gonna drop it in the chats. And if I see it in the chats, that's poor taste for our guest.
Anyone who drops it in the chats is getting blocked. No, it is. I mean, here's the thing. I encourage people to go to it, because go to it,
right,
and you will see how resigned they are to the fact that their own candidate sucks. So
yeah,
it's all I know is that the more people we get in front of, whether we're doing it, in person with the, like the bus tours that we're doing, or flying out to different places, or just through social media, through our ads and everything else, the more people that see our message, the more people that wake up every day. It's what I live for, is to watch more and more people have that aha moment, that light bulb moment where they actually feel hope again for the first time since the last time that they were, when they were sold a bad bill of goods on the message of hope back in 2008. But they actually feel real hope this time, because unlike just some new stale political message from the Republicrats, now it's a entirely new party with an actual philosophical belief system behind our policies, who aren't just selling you whatever we focus group tested, but it's something we've actually been fighting for nearly 50 years, and we can show the history behind how we've been fighting for these things. And I believe that this is our year. I believe that this is the time for libertarians. I believe that all good ideas have their time when their time has come, and I believe that our time is now.
And I think everyone just seen whether they voted for Trump or they voted for Biden or whatever. I think everyone is starting to see that this is getting ridiculous, because you've not even had we've not had any debates. We've not had any debates. We just had. The president just announced that he was gonna go ahead and accept the nomination for his party. And we're thinking, did we have a meeting or something like that? Was there anybody talking about this? Did anybody else come up? What was Biden doing? What was he going to talk about? Who are they going to debate? Who's going to be the moderators? So do you think? Do you think that the debate should be run by the actual government, or do the rights of a private company, should have access to the national debate stage, being those media corporations? Who do you think should run it now?
I'm not sure there's a good option between those, unfortunately, because if you put the government in charge of debates, they'll make it illegal for a third party to participate. So there will be no. If anyone who is concerned about or considering the idea of the government being in charge of the debates needs to look at how the government treats the ballot. Republicans and Democrats have automatic access to the ballots. So they make the rest of us, even during a pandemic, get thousands and tens of thousands, and in some states, hundreds of thousands of signatures, again, during a pandemic.
Right.
And we have so far risen to the occasion in every state, and we do anticipate being on all 50 state ballots, but we're the only third party that can do that. No, I definitely don't think it should be government, but I do think that as part of what Jo will do when she comes into office is breaking up the FEC, and because the FEC by its own charter exists to give money, taxpayer money, to the Republicans and Democrats, and to basically make it difficult for everyone else to even try to get on the ballot in the first place. And simply removing that and breaking up the duopolies gravy train will help to kind of open up the market for different debates and more than one debate system and more than one debate purveyor, which is what we have now.
So with that, then we were talking. We might as well just hit the election portion of it. Do you have a plan to address the foreign influence on our election system? And would you be interested in sharing it with us right now? I know some campaigns don't like to reveal their war room tactics. So
Yeah, I mean, it's the same as ending the domestic crony influence on our system. You end whenever there's a supply of something, the demand will meet it, and the supply is of patronage from government, and so the demand comes up and meets it. The way that you end the corruption in politics, if a series of laws or policies was going to end it, it would have already happened, but it doesn't. The way you end corruption in politics, or at least greatly reduce it, is reduce the government's size, scope, power, cost, and influence in the first place. Because if they don't have the ability to regulate every single aspect of your lives, well, now they don't really have as much of a product to sell. Now, they can't say, hey, how'd you like to be the only business that's able to make X? Or how'd you like to get this, this no bid contract? Or how would you like to, be able to, provide some mandated service that we're going to force every American to buy, like they did with the health insurance companies? Like, they can't do that if they don't have that power. If that power is taken away from them and put back in the hands of you, the people, who should have always had it, where it always belonged, that gets rid of so much of the corruption, not just foreign corruption, but domestic crony corruption as well.
Right.
That's, it withers on the vine without a supply.
So what's your take, you Spike? What's your take on the mail-in ballots, or if you're able to have protests, then you can have a poll. You know what I mean? If you're able to have a concert, you can have a poll. Is anybody kind of like highlighted that at all, or have been kind of like, what do you mean mail-in ballots? If you can have a demonstration, you can have a protest, and you're following initial CDC guidance of being social distance, wearing a mask, then you should be able to vote, right? I mean, is that? What do you feel about that?
Yeah, so, I mean, on policy, I would defer to Joe, obviously, on that. I will say this. After I've seen enough voting that's happened, especially in big cities, I don't know how social distancing would even be effective for such a thing.
Mm-hmm.
One idea that actually one of our down-ballot Libertarian candidates, a man named Elliot Shearer, who's running for Congress in Texas. I forget the district. I apologize. But he came up with an idea of ballot drop boxes, ballot drop box locations.
Yeah.
So you would still have to do all the same verification, and you could do it for not just on election day, because that's also one of the biggest problems. Why are we saying there is one day that you can vote? And that's it. It's just a one day, and everyone has to go there the exact same day.
Right.
If you allow for people to come up to a certain day, that also allows people to stagger out as well. So I think that there's a lot of different things that could be done that don't require mail-in voting or require everyone to show up on the same exact day, which also harms a lot of people that are working hard to make ends meet and
right.
can't afford to take that day off.
Right.
Because it's like a Tuesday, it's a day that for a lot of people that's their busiest day.
Right.
So I think that I will say my understanding of the data as it has been crunched in the past is that there wasn't ever any really big examples of voter fraud from mail-in ballots. But with that said, like I said, I'll defer to Joe on that specific policy, but I think there's a lot of things that can be done. And this is, again, just my personal opinion.
Of course.
Things that can be done to allow for, making sure that the people who are saying who they are voting, that they aren't voting on someone else's behalf or voting multiple times or something like that. But that also makes it so that, not just for the sake of safety during a pandemic, but also just convenience for people who, part of our voting system benefits people who are retired. It is ideal for people who are retired.
Yeah.
It is not a coincidence that people who are retired are the most likely to vote because they can just go, Tuesday, okay, I'll get to vote now.
Right, exactly.
So there are a lot of things that could be done that would allow people who can't just, take Tuesday off to participate as well.
Now, with that, so you're all about voter, this is, of course, in the future or whatever, the policy would be. Obviously, voter ID would have to be, like you said, you have to verify who you are. You have to verify who you're going to vote for. You have to verify, that you're making sure you're one vote. Would you be opposed to a voting week, like Monday to Friday? You know what I mean? Just to kind of
like that, Monday to Friday, or even including Saturday and Sunday for the people that work Monday to Friday.
Right.
With voter ID, and again, I would defer to Joe on policy. My personal opinion is I don't think voter ID is a problem as long as you are allowing people to get the ID for free. Otherwise, you're now effectively, you have a poll tax, right? Like you've now created a system where, if you can't afford the ID, then you're not able to vote.
You
and if we've created a system whereby a government presumes authority over all of us with no ability to opt out, and the only way that they can participate in how that presumed authority operates, basically rules over them, is for their ability to vote, and then you turn around and tell them, well, but you have to have this ID, and it's going to cost you this much. Then you're arguably infringing on people's rights there. So I would say if we move to a voter ID system, then it would need to be free. It would need to be an ID system that you go up, you show up, you say I'm such and such, and you get your ID. And so yeah, that's would be my personal policy on that. In terms of what Joe's policy would be, I would defer to whatever she says on that.
Of course.
Another big thing is the number of people who have been disenfranchised of their ability to vote. By the fact that they had a felony record, and I think that that's a clear violation of their constitutional right to, redress grievances against the government. If you can't vote, the fact that you once did something, I don't think that states should be able to tell someone permanently that they can't ever vote again. I've talked to so many people over the past couple of weeks who, had tears in their eyes when they're saying, "I'd love to be able to vote for you, but I can't because." I was addicted to meth 15 years ago, and that's just absurd. There's no reason for that. So that obviously, and that is actual policy. Like that needs to end. People need to be able to vote. People who are out, people who have done their duty and done their service and whatever else.
Of course. Once you've once you've done you've done the crime, you've done the time, that's the whole. We've talked about this before on air in other shows. Is that the reason why it's called paying your debt to society? You serve your sentence, you're completed, you pay your fines, then you're supposed to be reintegrated, which we suck at that, reintegrating prisoners into the system, just like we suck at reintegrating veterans from a combat zone. With instead we just want to throw pillows at them and shit. You brought up something that you said tax. What's your give me your spiel, or give me the deets on what you and Jo Jorgensen feel about the IRS.
Oh yeah, so this is another easy one. All taxation is theft, and it's not only theft, but it's a regressive theft. No matter how you tax people, even if you made only the wealthy and the corporations pay the taxes. All they would do is simply pass it on they'd add it as overhead to the cost of the goods and services that they sell and rent to the rest of us, which means that the more of a net consumer you are, the higher percent of your income that is going into purchasing things that you need, the higher your de facto tax rate is. So all taxation is not only theft and extortion, but it's also a blatant and cynical act of taking from those who don't have and handing it directly to those who do have, and that being the cronies who have put the politicians in place who decide how to spend all that money they just stole from us. So to that end, Joe will end the IRS. Joe will, in the same way that she can simply fire everyone in the agency, she will fire them as well. And she's been asked about other tax plans like the fair tax, and she said, I'm fine with the fair tax as long as the rate of that tax is 0%. There is no such thing as a fair tax. The only fair tax is one that is not levied.
Right.
And so the Libertarian Party, and Joe as well, believes that the way that you fund a government that truly has the consent of the governed, which we are told is what our government is based on, is consent of the governed. The only way you can truly establish consent of the governed is that if the governed are voluntarily saying they want the things that government is providing. Well, if government is providing something that actually has a demand and that people want, then they'll be willing to pay for it. And if they're not willing to pay for it, that either means that they don't want it, or they don't want it from government. Either way, government shouldn't be doing that thing. And if the people say, yeah, I'd like that thing, but it costs too much, then that means government either needs to reduce their prices, or they need to allow private competitors to compete in the provision of those services. But in all of those different scenarios, there is no need for a coercive entity forcing you under threat of harm to pay for the cost of government. And by eliminating that system, and making it a system whereby government has to actually prove that the things that they are providing actually have a value, which means that you're willing to pay for it, that also does an incredible deal to end the patronage and the crony system, because we wouldn't agree to pay for so much of this stuff,
right,
because we don't want it.
Right.
So that would also go a great way towards reducing and ending corruption as well.
Now, taking in consideration of for instance, the veterans benefits, Veterans Administration, how would you handle? I mean, how would the Jorgensen Cohen ticket handle the obviously few decades of war now. We had a lot of veterans. How would you handle compensation for disability, pensions? How would you be able to get that? Where would you get that money from?
Right, exactly. So there's actually an idea that's been floating around in libertarian circles called a transfer fee. And basically, this is a system that would operate similar to a tax, but it would have the key component of you being able to opt out without government protection. So here's how that would work. Let's say I sell you a car, okay? And because you really trust me, and we've known each other forever, and you know I would never sell you a bad car, we both decide not to pay that transfer fee. So let's say the transfer fee is like 2 or 3% on, or even 1% on all transactions, any labor, any sale, any renting, any whatever, 1-2%. It might even be a graduated thing based on the value. It could go many different ways, but let's just say it's a flat 2%. And so I'm selling you this car, and I'm selling it to you for for $5,000. So we decide not to spend that $100 on the transfer fee. Now, if that car turns out to be a lemon, and I go, screw you, you already bought it, you can't sue me because you didn't pay essentially for the ability to use the government's arbitration system. So, or any other myriad of things. If someone is doing, someone's working for you, and in that way, by not having that protection, it actually incentivizes people choosing to pay for that, pay that minimal fee. Now, it would be on everything, but it would be a minimal fee because if something happens and you actually need to utilize government for protection and arbitration, you have that protection. And what it would do is, because that would raise way more revenue than would be needed to deal with that arbitration of things, that would be the revenue that government needs for things like continuing the social safety net, continuing Medicare, and continuing pensions, continuing veterans benefits and the like. Maintaining a minimal military needed only to protect against aggression and that kind of stuff. But because it is based on a voluntary decision to pay the fee or not pay the fee, it also means that other people may come up with private providers who provide those same arbitration services at a lesser cost. So it keeps government thin and trim, and it keeps government honest, because they know that they can't just overspend on everything, because they won't be able to. If they try to raise that fee up and private competitors do a better job than them, they're not going to get the money they need. So it puts an onus on government that that the Republicrats will not allow it to have, which is that it actually has to stay honest, or it's not going to have enough money, and it won't be able to force us to give it the money it needs.
I was about to ask you, what's the Libertarian Party take on the Fed, on the the Federal Reserve? What's their, I mean, because clearly they're using the taxes and they're using all this. How would they? Where would you factor the Fed in this?
Oh, well, we would factor it in history books where we talk about when it used to exist. Here's the thing with the Fed, and for those who don't know what the Fed is and why libertarians get all wide-eyed and start screaming about it.
Exactly, that's why I brought it up.
The Federal Reserve, no, because I'll say, and the Fed, they're like, oh no, you're a libertarian. I'm like, yes, but hear me out.
Yeah.
Here's the reason why we get all googly-eyed about ending the Fed. The Federal Reserve was created in 1913 along with the IRS and the income tax. When the Federal Reserve was created, 3 things happened. First thing that happened was that we went to war the following year and have essentially been at war every year since, which was not our history up until then. The next thing that happened was that we now had boom and bust cycles that were based not on supply and demand of the actual economy itself, but based on how much or how little money was being printed out and used and utilized by the Fed and the banks, the central banks. The next thing, which meant that the wealthy and powerful could basically game the system. So the rest of us are kind of flying somewhat blind. We're looking at the fundamentals, trying to figure out how it's going to work out economically, or the stock market, or whatever investments we have. Whereas the ones who are actually pulling the levers and deciding whether the economy is going to continue going up or if it's going to have its final crash correction that it needs to have, they know exactly when these things are going to happen. It's like the most obscene kind of insider trading. And then the third thing that happened is that Now the cost of living goes up every year, anywhere from 3%, 2% on the low end to 15, 20% on the high end, usually around an average of 4%, that it goes up every single year, just enough where you can feel it, but not so much that we have an uprising over it. But what it has led to in that 107 years that we've had the Federal Reserve, imagine, so the Federal Reserve note that you have in your wallet and in your bank account you use every day to buy stuff, it's worth 2 cents on the dollar what it was when it was created in 1913. Imagine if your money was worth 50 times what it is now. That's how much they've robbed you. That is how much the Federal Reserve has robbed the American people. They print out endless Federal Reserve notes and they use it to hand off to the federal government, who then turns around and hands it off to their favorite cronies, and then they stick you with the bill to pay it back with interest. And that's the long and short of what the Federal Reserve does. Not only do they stick you with interest, but then by inflating the money supply, by printing endless Federal Reserve notes and throwing them into the money supply without adding any actual value, they reduce the value of each one of those Federal Reserve notes. That's why the cost of living keeps going up. It didn't used to be that way.
No, you're right.
And so by ending the Fed, not only do we take a powerful blow against the cronies and their ability to game the system for the central banks and all of their other systems, not only do we end the system of the federal government just being able to throw endless money at whatever they want to without having to come to us and explain to us why we need to pay for this or asking us to pay for this, but it also makes your money worth something again. It makes it actually retain its value. And by putting it in the hands of the free market, they'll actually compete to have your currency gain value over time, so that the cost of living actually goes down over time. So that's why we get all worked up about it, because the Fed is one of the epicenters of every bad policy that has come out of government, because it's all a system of, it is the difference between playing Monopoly by the rules and playing Monopoly where you just print out a bunch of Monopoly notes every time you land and you just put out enough to buy whatever you want. And of course you're going to win that way, because you're not actually playing upright like all of the other people that are, you're not playing fair and square like everyone else is playing. That is what the Fed is. And it's being played that way only by the most powerful and wealthy and cynical people among us. The very people who don't need any more money, who don't need any more power. They've already taken enough. And so the Federal Reserve, ending the Federal Reserve, has so many benefits. Ending the cronyism, ending the endless wars overseas, ending all the other bad policies that the American people would have never agreed to be taxed directly to pay for, ending the debt, ending the boom-bust cycles, ending endless inflation. That happens.
Right, because you're also talking about the prime rate. I mean, because right now, not too many people realize what the prime interest rate is about connected to the Fed.
Right.
And when they think, oh well, the Fed, like right now we're having stores that are saying, please don't pay with, you please use exact change. Please use your card. Please use, what are you talking about? Well, it's because that printing of the money that you were talking about, they want us to use cards because they want to see actual money being tracked for the I guess you would say for the inflation, or for tracking of what the rate is going to be, because now what is it, right? The Wall Street Journal said something about the rate's going to go up again.
Yeah, it's going to have to go up, and the reason why is because they just dumped $6 trillion into the economy.
Yeah.
They just dumped, and when I say they dumped $6 trillion, that $1,200 you got and the $500 your kids got or whatever, that was about 300 and something billion of it.
Yeah.
The other $5.7 trillion was giveaways to the federal government, the state governments, and more importantly, to all of the big businesses that were saying, wait a second, our bottom line is going to get affected by all this. And they go, no, it's not. We're just going to hand you money, and we'll stick all the commercial clubs who can't work right now because they're non-essential with the bill with interest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're also going to we're going to increase rates and all that, and then wonder why people now have to have incredible FICO scores to get a loan.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. Okay. So one of the things that they were talking about along currently with the current social discourse we have in our country, the Black Lives Matter movement, the protesting, the riots, what was it, the freaking little cash? What was that little place that was called up in Portland or whatever? Chaz. Yeah. They're trying to whatever. whatever they want to call. I'm not saying whatever to the statement, but what's up? What is the Jo Jorgensen? Spike Cohen. Can you give us some feel to it? Can you give us what the hell's going on? What's your take on it?
Yes. So we've both been to some Black Lives Matter protests. I've actually been to a few of them, and here's what I heard over and over again. I heard that they are sick of having to deal with an unaccountable police state, which, as we know, because of how the laws are set up in urban areas, they are dealing with far more police interactions every day than the average person who doesn't live in a major urban area. So, they're dealing with the police far more often. And just as a game of numbers, if you're dealing with an increasingly unaccountable police state and you're having to deal with them more often, you're going to have more bad outcomes as a result of that.
Right.
And if there are more laws to enforce, there's more people that are going to go to jail. And they're sick of the disproportionate use of force and disproportionate sentencing. With both the war on guns and the war on drugs, we see that people of color are actually anywhere from depending on which drug or which crime we're talking about, which gun we're talking about, anywhere from 3 to 5 times more likely to be imprisoned for using drugs or owning a firearm, even though white people are actually slightly more likely to use drugs or own a firearm. Actually, when it comes to owning a firearm, white people are markedly more likely to own a firearm. But because of how the system is set up, they are more likely to go to jail for it. They are sick of these things, and they want to see the police held accountable, and they want to see an end to this disproportionate use of force against communities of color. Here's how you mentioned the discourse in this country. Here is how the discourse works right now in this country when it comes to issues of race and disproportionate use of force and systemic problems and so forth. Imagine if you and I went to lunch, and we're having a great lunch, and while we're at lunch, someone comes in and hits me with a baseball bat and shoots you a bunch of times in the chest. I go into the hospital for a matter of weeks. I have a very severe concussion. I have bleeding on the brain. They actually have to put me in a medically induced coma briefly, but I'm out. With the exception of the occasional, neurological symptom that I have that probably will never go away. For the most part, I'm okay, but I'm definitely scarred and traumatized by the whole thing. You are in the hospital for months. You die on the surgical table multiple times. You have multiple organ failures. They have been able to patch you up, but you have permanent organ damage to multiple organs. You have a hard time getting around. You have a hard time breathing. You're on a myriad of medications. You deal with all sorts of different problems, and you're obviously, incredibly traumatized as a result of it. We will both survive, but we've both been harmed to varying degrees. A few months later, we decided to get together for lunch again to kind of commiserate over what's happened. And we're both going, wow, this is terrible that it's happened, but I'm glad that we're both, I say, well, I'm glad we're both okay. And you say, well, I'm not sure if I'm okay, but I'm glad we're both here. I certainly got it worse than you did, but it's terrible that this happened to us. And I go, well, I mean, you say that you got it worse than you did, but I was in the hospital. I had a concussion, and I was in a coma. It was really bad. I still have neurological symptoms. I'm not sure you'd say that you got it worse than I did. And you go, whoa, wait a second. You were in a hospital with a coma. I died multiple times. I can barely breathe right now. Things are really, really bad. I was shot multiple times. If anything, you benefited from the fact that you only got hit with a baseball bat and I got shot in the chest. And I go, well, wait a second. Maybe if you'd been nice to the guy, he'd have just hit you with a baseball bat. That is the racial discourse in this country. You have various members of different groups that are disproportionately harmed to various degrees, arguing over who's getting it worse and who's getting it better, instead of everyone taking a step back and saying, we're all being harmed, and we should stop that. Now, the best way in that situation for us to move forward on it is when I'm saying, man, I'm just glad we're here, and you go, yeah, I am glad we're here. I got it a lot worse than you did, but this was terrible what happened to us. I should at that point go, yeah, you got it worse than me. That's terrible. Let's figure out how to find that guy and make sure he never does that again. And that's essentially what Black Lives Matter is. One phrase that I keep hearing in the Black Lives Matter thing, it's interesting. I actually hear the phrase all lives matter at Black Lives Matter events more than I hear it anywhere else, because I keep hearing them say, we want to say all lives matter. We want to be able to say that everyone is being treated equally under the law. We want to be able to say that these harms are ending.
Right.
And so when I go, I don't get into an argument about, well, white people get killed by cops too. I go there and say, hey, listen, I agree with every single thing you're saying when it comes to, disproportionate use of force and ending these systems of harm. And I've got some fantastic news for you, because we've been pushing for this for nearly 50 years. Jo Jorgensen and I have a plan to end this. And on more than one occasion, we have on the spot been endorsed by that local Black Lives Matter group. In fact, this Saturday, I'm going to be speaking in Richmond, Virginia. Here's a subtle plug.
Go for
it. Black Lives Matter, it's actually going to be a gun rally, a pro-Second Amendment gun rally by Black Lives Matter and Black Guns Matter at the state capitol in Richmond, and they've invited me to come and speak. And they've all but endorsed us at this point in the way that they've been promoting our campaign. And it's very clear why that is. We're the only ones, the only party, the only candidates who are actually listening to them. And instead of trying to either, say that they're saying something else, to go, oh, you just hate our police and our military.
Yeah.
Why can't stand for the flag, and white people are being hurt too, and maybe you ought to get over yourselves. Or doing what the Democrats do and going, oh man, I got this. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to put on a kente cloth and kneel, and I'm going to appoint more. I'm going to appoint a couple of black people to my cabinet. They're all like cops and prosecutors with a terrible history, but they're black.
They're black, yeah.
Totally instead of doing that, instead of pandering to them, which is what the Democrats do, and accomplishing nothing, or Republicans often do, pandering to people who hate them. Instead, we're going to them and saying, hey, listen, you're right. This problem needs to be fixed, and we're going to fix it. And by simply doing that, we have been getting not just endorsements, but more importantly, people across the political spectrum, not just at Black Lives Matter rallies, but at Second Amendment rallies and anti-lockdown rallies and all sorts of different protests and coalitions and interest groups and native tribes and everything in between. They're seeing that there's a group, there's a party, there's a movement, and there's a campaign, and there's a presidential candidate in the person of Dr. Jo Jorgensen, who actually sees what their problem is and actually recognizes how we got here and how we can fix it. And that is the most powerful thing that we can do.
Well, most of my things, Spike, is that I'm tired of, like you were saying, I'm tired of the one-upsmanship on who's sucking the most. You literally look at it and go, look, we totally got what's happening. We totally got, like, for instance, let's even go even further. The Minneapolis police officer knelt down, applied restraint, and he is dead. Okay, George Floyd is dead. We're not. No one's gonna argue about the fact that let's go back and talk about how he did this or he did that or he was drugged or he was this or he was intoxicated. Let's go back to leaked footage. Let's go back to this. And I'm thinking, stop. Really freaking stop. You're not even taking. You're trying to take all context of that specific event. Just so that way you can kind of, like, I don't know, maybe ease some shit. I don't know how to define it, but it's almost like you don't want to encounter it. You have to have those uncomfortable conversations. We said
what we see, and you said uncomfortable, and that is a big part of this. There are a lot of people who, if someone else is suffering, and I'm not saying just this group of people, but in general, there are a lot of people that, if someone else is suffering is causing them a level of discomfort, and causing them to challenge their beliefs about something, they'll just do everything they can to shut it out. And that's sort of, I guess, a self-protection tool to, like, sort of like a cognitive defense tool. Like, well, this is really challenging what I think about how things are going, and I don't like it, and so I'm just gonna. Well, George Floyd, he once did drugs, and he once did this thing. Was convicted of 12 years prior or something like that, so he definitely deserved to be choked to death slowly in front of a crowd. So no, it is a problem, but it's also a conditioning. There's conditioning that comes from and we see that similar conditioning with a lot of people who when they're told about the hardships of people that have lost their businesses due to this lockdown, and they go, well, it is what it is. You just got to slow the spread. Like, they have been conditioned that there are certain people that just have to be dehumanized briefly so that their preferred policies can go through. And that's something they're being conditioned from at the top. Because if you can be conditioned to dehumanize those around you, then you can be conditioned to accept all sorts of terrible outcomes. And we have many examples of history of that.
Well, with that, it just look, there is the I always look at things specifically. I don't like you were saying, I don't like the corporatizing of everything. So So when I hear about somebody saying that the Black Lives Matter movement, I'm thinking of the movement. That's what I'm Ken, I think of that in my head because, I'm all about that. I'm all about movements. I'm all about, causes that help out, freedom is the right of everyone, equality, all that stuff. Right. But when it gets corporate, everyone brings up the corporate side of Black Lives Matter. And I think it's almost like Christmas. It's almost like, I'm probably going to get, fragged over freaking Twitter for saying this just by an example of it. But it seems like every cause or everything has to be corporatized. Everything has to be, and it doesn't have to. And a lot of individuals are connecting the corporate version to the actual movement in itself. And that's what.
So we saw that with Colin Kaepernick, where people were like, "Well, yeah, but Nike just did that to make money." I'm like, okay, yes, Nike figured out that there was a market of people that would love to hear this message, and they made money from it. Welcome to how marketing works. That's
101.
This is just a kind of
Yep.
This is a really cynical example of that, but welcome to marketing. Turns out pandering works.
Right.
It is what it is. But like you said, that's not the movement. The movement isn't, man, how can we make money for Nike, or how can we make Colin Kaepernick into one of the most well-known celebrities or whatever. It's about how can we stop people from being killed in the middle of the street? How can we stop entire communities being criminalized at such a young age? And when we don't bring it back to that question, we don't get answers to it, because the answer is that government is so damn big and is so infringing on everyone's lives, and is especially big and infringing in the urban areas and in poorer communities and in the areas where people don't have institutional power. That's the whole point. We can actually fix it, but first we have to acknowledge what the problem is. And that's not going to come from focusing on what Nike did, or the fact that, yes, is it kind of, I guess, annoying when you see a bunch of corporations blacking out their profile pics and doing absolutely nothing in terms of their ad policy. They just black out their, or what happens every June 1st, we get the rainbow version of all the logos. And that's not necessarily bad from the standpoint that for people who were told that they're, are evil and disgusting their whole lives, to now see that it's gone the other way, where people are actually pandering to them. I guess to that extent, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but they're not doing anything.
Right.
So, for example, when Gay Pride rolled around, when Pride Month rolled around back in June, and I'm watching, all the rainbow everything, and I'm like, this is not helping gender and sexual minorities. But I actually I didn't actually write anything about Pride Month for like nearly 2 weeks, and I actually people that were reaching out that are like, "Are you going to address this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am, but I want to make sure I'm doing this in a way that actually demonstrates an understanding of what's happening." So the way I ended up dealing with Pride Month was I actually posted about the history of the Stonewall riots, and that Pride Month actually started because in June there was a riot against police who were trying to jail an entire group of people for being gay.
Yep.
And that's why we actually the Pride Month actually started as a riot against police trying to put people in jail for being homosexual. When I put that out there, and I said,
That's some. You're no, Spike. You're digging some. That's some good history. Not too many people know about the origin of that. No,
of course, because rainbowing everything. Why actually teach someone why? The joke. Well, they did it in June because gay people are best at choosing the best venues for things, and June's one of the warmer months.
God,
that's what people think, right? But it's not. It's actually, there's a reason for it. It actually happened on my birthday of all days. It happened, Pride started as a riot against people trying to imprison gay people for being gay.
Right.
So my point of bringing that up, both now and when I brought it up then, was this is about showing everyone how many rainbows you have. There's nothing wrong with doing that in and of itself, but that's not what this month is about. And the problem is when we allow major media and major corporations and politicians to define things, they end up making it look like this little milquetoast, everyone hold hands, kumbaya moment, when it often wasn't. You look at how even something like the Revolutionary War, how they try to sell that. They try to make it look like it was a really successful protest or something, and it was like no, it was a bloody conflict that started as an act of treason against the most powerful empire on the planet. We have to talk about these things, because if we don't recognize why these things are happening and what ends up happening if we don't resolve things sooner, then we are doomed to keep repeating it. And that's what they want. They want us to keep repeating it because they are the ones who benefit from it. So, no, we have to resist that. We have to tell the truth about why these things happen in the first place.
You know, and you bring up a good point on the Jorgensen Cohen ticket. Right now, currently, we have a ban on transgenders serving in the military. What's the what do you see as the administration for under Jorgensen and Cohen doing for trans? Are you going to lift the ban? You guys going to? I mean, Drill, I'm going to do a real quick silent pause. Are you guys willing to lift the ban on transgenders serving openly in the military?
That would be the goal, yes, is to remove that, because what you're telling people is because of your identity, you cannot serve in the military. Not a concern about, because I know some people that, but what if they have to pay for gender reassignment or something like that? That's a separate issue from whether or not they can even serve in the first place. If we are saying that because of an identity that you have no control over one way or the other, then, you know, an intrinsic thing that is a part of you, no different than your race or your ethnicity or skin color, that you cannot serve, then that is, I mean, that's a pretty blatant violation of equal protection.
That's what I'm talking about. No, that was one of the questions that was on the top for me that I have to ask, and I got one more before, because you know we're giving you, you know, you probably had more time here talking to us than any freaking media outlet.
I was going to say I'm into my second hour of our 45-minute conversation, but it's fine. No, it's fine. Go ahead with your.
You know, I like to throw. I'm sorry, excuse me for hitting the mic, but I like to throw back and forth. You know, because sometimes we get some good tangents, Spike.
No, it's good. This has been great. I'm glad we got to do
it. What is the Libertarian stance on replacing coal and gas power with a nuclear that's considered cheaper and reliable and efficient?
We're going to just remove the government's hands from the levers and get the government out of all the regulations and you know, all of the subsidies of fossil fuels and some of these very wrong-headed, but maybe they were well-intentioned, but very wrong-headed so-called renewable sources of energy, any source of energy or anything else for that matter. If it is necessary, if it is good, and if it serves a purpose, there will be demand for it, which means that there will be a cost associated with what people are willing to pay. And if people either aren't willing to pay for it or aren't willing to pay as much as it currently costs, then back to the drawing board until it can be. That's how innovations happen.
Right.
By for example, subsidizing fossil fuels, they've actually made it so that it's cheaper it's because the taxpayer is helping subsidize it. That's now cheaper than it would otherwise be in just a full, open, and free market. Also, in the realm of renewables, there's less onus on those companies to make better innovations because they're already getting subsidized anyway. If they make better innovations, they might lose their subsidies once they actually become successful. And then nuclear, which needs neither a subsidy nor anything else to actually be able to compete, because right now it is the best and cheapest and cleanest source of energy, at least for now. Simply removing the bans and the mandates and the regulations on it, and allowing them to build new plants and to innovate new types of plants like thorium plants, molten salt plants, and so forth, will allow us to have much cheaper and safer energy, and also for the American taxpayer not to be subsidizing, different forms of energy that favored politicians have been pushing because they got hired and paid for to go to office to do it.
Oh my gosh. And you only see like maybe one power plant in for every that's not even being built or being torn down, whatever.
Yep, exactly.
So if about some of the individuals, I got a question right here about the healthcare system, what we have currently going on. How is our healthcare? It's a big issue. So what's your take specifically on the whole freaking, I don't know, maybe it's a whole other show to talk about healthcare, but
I was going to say I don't mind giving kind of the 30,000 foot view.
Go for it. Yeah. Okay. Go for it.
It definitely is a long one. I can tell you one thing, what we are being sold, which is being branded as Medicare for all, but let's be clear, they're pushing VA for all. Medicare is an 80-20 system. The government pays 80%, you pay 20%, and then you continue to use a private health insurer to do the wraparound, which allows for there to be some lack of government control in how much it costs. The government could simply not afford to do Medicare for everyone, and the kind of cost estimates they're putting out are not for Medicare for all. They're not even for Medicaid for all. They're for something similar to VA for all. And again, I'm talking largely with groups, a lot of veterans right now who are listening to this, who I don't need to tell you what that's going to look like if everyone's being subjected to the same system that you've been subjected to.
Yep.
So the problem with healthcare is that it is incredibly expensive in this country. And it's not hard to see why it's expensive. Recent studies have shown that as much as 75%, roughly 75% of the cost of healthcare is just related to the cost of complying with various red tape that comes from all of the different regulations and taxes and mandates and fees that come from Medicare, Medicaid, and government mandated insurance. And now keep in mind, I'm not talking about the cost of giving these services to people, to patients who need it. I'm talking about the cost of complying with the various edicts and laws and regulations that are built into these systems. And that's why when you go into a hospital, you see one doctor, 2 nurses, and 15 administrators, because you have to have that many people to keep up with it. You have to create all these automated systems to keep up with all this regulatory burden. You're constantly having to change your standards and procedures, and the cost of it, again, it's close to around 3/4 of the cost of healthcare is just related to those burdens. And then they're not helping the public health. They're not helping public safety. They're just creating jobs for administrators and bureaucrats at the expense of the American patient. So you get rid of those regulatory burdens, and you see the cost of healthcare drop down to as little as 25% of what the cost is now. That's before we get into stuff like these patent protections on drugs that have been around longer than most of us have been alive, like insulin and epinephrine, where companies are able to make and sell drugs here at 100 or 1,000 or even 10,000 times what they would charge in any other country, because they have patent protections in place that make it that no one else can make that same drug. You have EpiPens, something that costs a few bucks to make, including the actual epinephrine itself, and they sell them for hundreds or in some cases thousands of dollars, because they know that Medicare and Medicaid and the insurance companies will have to pay for it. And if you're not covered, well, then you just die. And that is a bad system.
Yeah, I was about to say.
What's that?
No, I was about to say that it's kind of callous in a way that you're going to start getting categorized and triaged to die with the system.
Yeah, you have to. You have to, because they can't afford to give it to you unless you have the money. So it's not even like, oh, screw this guy, he's going to die. It's, we don't have the $3,000 for this person's insulin if they can't afford to pay for it. But again, it should have never been that much to begin with. There's a reason why it's illegal for you to go to another country and buy a drug there and bring it back here. Even though it's legal here, it's illegal there, and your prescription is legal. The simple act of you bringing that drug back into the U.S. is illegal for one reason, because they want you to be in a closed market where you have to pay the price that they've imposed on everyone with their absurd patent protections. And there's like 50 other things like this, certificate of need laws against doctors being able to provide services on the sliding scale. There's so many things. We could spend an hour just talking about all of the absurd limitations. So much of the cost of healthcare is just because government.
Oh, I know. I'm sitting there thinking of other questions and writing down some other stuff. I'm like, no, that'll take us to midnight. That'll take.
It'll take us forever. But so I mean, and then to keep in mind, it is government who created this terrible system, who is now saying, oh, we've got you guys. We're going to just take it all over. No, you're the reason that it's this expensive to begin with. We want you out of it. We want the money and the power and the decision-making ability and the freedom back in the hands of patients and providers where it belongs.
Oh, man, I can go on. We can go on forever on this. We can go on forever. I mean, I'm just like, oh gosh, this is insane. Hey, real quick, we gotta get going. I mean, there were some. I guess there was a cutoff a little bit. Facebook did a little. So I don't know. I don't think Facebook likes us, man. But
well, did you hit 4 hours?
Yeah, I need to apply some more hours, I guess. Hey, Spike, we really appreciate you coming on. We'll have your. We have. There was everyone's like, well, wait, we couldn't hear it. I guess there was for like the last minute. I guess something got cut off. Right there. I'll double check it. It'll be loaded up in the podcast anyways. So if anything else, we totally appreciate hanging out with us, and we totally appreciate you shooting the breeze. It is an honor to have you coming on. And how about can you get Jo Jorgensen to come on here?
Yeah, we actually I told Jo that I was coming on this, and we gave a rundown of it. So it's just a matter of Jo's obviously incredibly busy, and it's just a matter of having her media team be able to come up with a time to fit her in. She's finishing up her leg of the bus tour, and I'll be starting again. So maybe we can get her on here soon enough.
Yeah, definitely. Any Monday. We prefer to Monday because this is our discussion commentary, political type show, and this is the kind of this is where we want to kind of have everybody scheduled in on. But if there's anything else, just let us know. We're gonna
absolutely. If you like what you heard, I invite you to go to Jo20. That's jo20.com. And if you're able to make a contribution, that would be great. We have a donate button there. More importantly, if you would like to join the grassroots army for human liberty, fighting for a world set free in our time that Jo and I are building, there is a volunteer form. We'd love to have you fill it out. We'd love to have you join our team. We'd also like for you to join the Libertarian Party at lp.org/join. And after you do that, go on their state directory and find out your state and local affiliates. That's where the real fight is happening here, is at the grassroots level. People that are working in a grassroots level, engaging in what we call the spontaneous order of free people working in a market set free, to be able to spread our ideas of liberty to the greater general American public. And we would love to have you join us. And again, our website is Jo20, jo20.com. And Ken, I really appreciate your time tonight, and I'm glad I was able to talk with everyone.
Yeah, well, hey, hang on for a sec. We're going to go ahead and take a break, and then me and you can talk off air. So, guys, we're going to take a break right quick, and we'll be right back, so everyone stand by.
Fading out, cirrus shapes I found blow me away. Van Allen right around, pushing through. Skin is brown, nature has us trapped in fear. So I get lost in sound. I wonder if you'll ever know why I am the way I am. Is
Hey, this is SEAC retired John Wayne Troxel. You're listening to WTF Nation Radio, the station of choice for all of the badass MFers on the planet.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Woo! And we're back. Wow. Hey, don't know what was up with that glitching. I was seeing some stuff. I mean, I think it was because we were killing our time. Wow. That was awesome. I mean, that's the longest I think we've had any guest, specifically a political candidate. I feel important now. I feel like I need to walk around here with a monocle going, yes, indubitably. We have a, smashing. We have our first vice presidential candidate, Spike Cohen. Hey, he's gonna get Jo Jorgensen on here. That's incredible. We were so honored to have you, Spike. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with the WTF Nation and showing us your wares. I got a lot of it. I mean, I still have more questions to ask, but
yeah, so did everyone else in the audience. There was a lot of really good questions you just can't get to.
Right, you can't. You can, but it's not without having somebody going back and forth. We're trying to, again, like I was telling Spike earlier, is that we try to keep a open forum for discussion. We don't sit there and trash anybody and says someone sucks or this sucks or you don't have to have this. That kind of removes the conversation at all or the discussion to anybody talking about it. Some of the questions, again, he did not get any of these questions. Everybody knows that's how we work. He didn't get any of the questions. There was no. I thought they were pretty fair questions. So I think I'm totally satisfied how it went.
Fair questions. I mean, it was legitimate things or questions about what people are concerned about right now.
Right. Exactly. Oh man. So with that, shit, I think we haven't gone to 2,300 in forever. But with that, we're gonna knock out some. So there we go again. I think Facebook is not liking me at all. It's like,
mad.
Yeah, we're dogging on them, talking crap. Let me see. All right. Well, I guess we got some. What's up for the news? We got any guests tomorrow? What's the cut sheet look like? What do we have going on for the next few weeks of guests? A few days of guests. Do we have anything up? Do you have anything?
Of course we do, because I'm awesome at what I do.
Oh.
I'm digging for the cut sheet. I'm kind of unprepared.
No, it's okay. You got because you're hanging out with COVID Carl, and he's like distracting you. He's like preventing you from doing. You have to put him on the freaking on the roster. Give him some radio bucks to get him to work. He needs to show up to freaking do some work.
Him and Baby Ice can have their own show.
Oh my God, I know that's gonna be hilarious. Yeah. Once they start getting to blabbing. Yeah, real quick. He we were out on the weekend. He had his tummy was hurting, so he is getting to the point, and you heard him a little bit right before we went on air. He is now getting to the point where he is. I need to watch what I say because that little dude is a recorder, and some of the things that I will say, or some euphemism that I make, or I will say just a little saying, and I laugh at because he's a little digital recorder. He'll make some
repeat.
Oh my gosh, he'll make a comment. I'll say something. Well, today was because his tummy was hurting, and he had to express himself on how to. He had to go to the bathroom, and then I walk into the bathroom, and I'm like, "How you doing?" And he goes, "Shit's not done." Okay, I guess he's just like, okay, I guess I need to kind of watch it because he just said it like matter of fact, like we were, I don't know, like he was in his 20s or something. It's just not done. Okay. Right. I'll let you
go. I have it pulled up. So tomorrow evening we'll have Jerry Kissel. He's a filmmaker, graphic artist, writer, vlogger, and illustrator. He will be on to talk about his latest work. He is the official cover artist for Warrior Publishing. He is also an Army veteran, which he was an Army combat medic during the first Gulf War. And he is, like I said, he's going to be on to talk about his recent work with being a graphic artist.
Awesome.
And then
go ahead.
On 23rd of August, which is a Sunday, this will be on Team Old, Kicking It with Cause. So it'll be Mark Liven. he'll be back on the show again. He's going to be talking about one of his newer books. He is a Navy veteran, and he's been on the show before, and he's talked about his series called Big Mother, which was released about in 2013, and it was actually ranked number 48 in the top 50 list of Amazon.com's over 100. I know what's going on. It's storming. That's why. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, that's why.
Doors. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, we're all glitching right now, guys and gals. So just gonna be patient, and there's distractors going on. So, anyways,
so he's coming on to talk about his recent work, and then on the 25th of August, Tuesday, Edward Payson. He's a horror film director, and he's going to be on to talk about his latest film, Our Friend John. Our Friend John is about John Hernandez, who passed away due to complications stemming from sickle cell anemia. He was writing a horror film he wanted to make with his friends. Upon his untimely death, he decided to make a film in John's honor, even though they have no clue where to start. So basically, he's just going to be on the show to talk, and he's also a veteran as well. Edward is.
And that's all we guess. We have another one. Another guest, right?
Yes.
No, go ahead.
You have one coming up in a couple weeks on the 27th.
Yes.
I'm still trying to, do my research and dig up my info before I add it to the cut sheet.
So go ahead. What was his name? We were talking about Peter Singer.
August, and I'm just trying to remember his name.
August Cole and Peter Singer, the co-authors of Burn In, a Robotic Revolution, and talks about artificial intelligence and robotics. This book, I'm reading it right now, and I'm currently halfway through it, and it is how this is not a movie, how this book is not already being sold rights for a freaking movie. It is literally.
It might be in the future.
Well, I mean, yeah, in the future. Hey, you guys make a movie. But it's a freaking it's a good book. It's just like, wow, it's pretty interesting. A lot of things that have to do with pandemics, veterans, how our technology works.
Just kidding.
Yeah, exactly. It literally is. You can have it run parallel to our and some of the information is derived from actual technology within the story. So it's a really good book. I mean, I was like, ooh, yeah, reading through it and all that. So now I'm fascinated with AI, and I'm asking the VA how come they won't cut my legs off so I can get new robotic legs or something like that. Anyways, but yeah, I can't wait for them to come on. So August 27th. Hey, you guys didn't notice? Hey, freaking. Pop Culture Warriors page or podcast, that got freaking nominated. This is awesome. This is pump. This is no damn TikTok. This is like for real. This is legit. Pop Culture Warrior got nominated for Best Entertainment. If you go to Pop Culture Warriors website or go to a Facebook page or go to our Facebook page, give them a congrats. Rob has a podcast entertainment category, and this is awesome. He's been nominated for Best Entertainment Podcast, and just go from Podcast Awards. This will be our second award if we get it. It'll be our second award. We're Best Warfighter Radio back in 2015, and then we have this one. Podcast category would be for CQ's Pop Culture Award. This is awesome. I can't wait, man. So we have Pop Culture Warrior tomorrow, and then we have We have Sergeant's Time with again, me, and then Friday and Saturday, and then Kicking with Cause on Sunday, and back into us. So, man, I'm just so pumped. I'm probably gonna drink myself to sleep right now. I shouldn't say that because then everyone's gonna think I'm a freaking drunk. Oh, I'm just drunk now because he's gonna drink himself to sleep. But I am gonna finish my drink.
You better. That's like alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to abuse, but all right, this is awesome. This is some cyber geek stuff. Speaking of which, there's also some cyber stuff that's going to be happening later in the future that's in the works. I can't wait. I always like to talk about stuff sometimes that it's still in the planning, because I know it's going to happen, and it's going to happen, but we just got to get the schedule hammered out. But God, sometimes I'm excited to talk about, did you know that so-and-so's going to come on? Did you know that so-and-so's going to come on? CQ, did you know so-and-so? Me and him go back and forth and fangirl over all the guests that we talk about. We end up bugging you and Spanky so much about all the guests.
Y'all chill.
I know, we're like, what about this? What about that? How about this? Or how about that? We get all excited about that stuff. It's awesome. I cannot, exactly. Pookie, he will say that. He will, shit's not done yet. I literally, he's probably going to say picking pepper out of fly shit. Exactly. He's going to say that in the future.
I wonder where he got that from.
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, he is he does listen sometimes when we drive, and I try to, he likes listening to Joe Rogan. I mean, if he says "What's up, freak bitches," then I know I need to turn down the I need to turn down the podcast. But anyways, hey guys and gals, thank you so much for showing up. We had an awesome, I think a lot of good questions. We had a lot of good, a lot of good people hanging out on all the Twitches, and all that. And there was a live thread going on right now, which is kind of cool on Twitter. Which is kind of cool. A Twitter thing is to follow along a podcast or a show and discuss the subjects of whatever, and it's like a live cast. So I appreciate you guys and gals that are knocking it out too on the Twitter side of the house. This is going to be uploaded up immediately after the show. So if you guys missed any of this, to include the 15 seconds of clip, whatever happened, we don't know what happened, then you guys will be more than happy to download it on Google Play. We are now on Twitch and Apple iTunes, or Apple Podcasts, I should say. Once it gets loaded up, bam, it's on YouTube as well. So if you can check it out, go on YouTube and you can listen to the show from there. But anyways, I think that's it. You got anything, Mom? You good? Are you out? Did you fall asleep already? Or your mic go bad or something? See, this is
no, it's just
this is stormy shit.
It is.
Okay,
it's
all right.
A pretty good one.
Okay. Well, everybody, thank you so much again for tuning in, and of course, thank you again to Spike Cohen, vice presidential candidate for and running mate for Jo Jorgensen. And again, y'all have a good night and shots. Night.
Wear a condom. We're in Fayetteville. No one gets STDs here.
The voice of U.S. Army, WTF Moments. This is WTF Nation Radio.
Intergalactic horse, and we'll ride into the sun, yes, into the sun, where we'll take the day by planting a flag right there at its source. Space Force. Now they say that they've discovered life up there on Mars, so let's blow it all to hell and then claim it for ours. We'll paint the moon red, white, and blue for no other reason than we wanted to. Oh, Jupiter, imagine what you could become. A stupid, pointless planet turned into a giant gun. And Russia, so sorry, have to burst your bubble. Be a good sport, now sit back, relax, and watch us through the hubble as we celebrate the greatness of the United Planet of America. Space Force, Space Force. We'll saddle up our intergalactic horse and we'll ride into the sun, yes, into the sun, where we'll take the day by planting a flag right there at its source. Space Force. Now we'll go to infinity and beyond, beyond. You'll hear our manly voice voices singing Space Force strong. The critics say sound doesn't travel in space, to which we reply sound will do as we say. Oh, Captain Kirk, your achievements, though notable and fine, as far as we're concerned, this is Deep Space Mine. And big fans, but Lord Vader, step away from the lightsaber, there can only be one, of course, Space Force. Space Force, Space Force, we'll saddle up our intergalactic horse, and we'll ride into the sun, yes, into the sun, where we'll take the day by planting a flag right there at its source. Space Force.
Everything stated on WTF Nation Radio is to be considered the opinion of the person that stated it, and not an official representation of WTF Nation Radio or U.S. Army WTF Moments.
Price does not include tax, title, or license. Some assembly required. Each item sold separately. Batteries not included. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. If conditions persist, contact a physician. Individual results may vary. Keep out of the reach of children. Avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight. Keep in a cool, dark place. And
please enjoy the show. Shots.